I can
Uh,
kill.
well, welcome everybody to episode 344. It's an Olympic special. We've got Davey is eating a sandwich in the co-hosting seat with us tonight. We're also joined by Anna Knox and Janaea. Janaea's from Janaea Talks Caps, and then Anna's from the Power Play Point podcast. And we also have another special guest from the Power Play Podcast that we will bring in right now, Gil, who's dressed for the occasion. We'll put it that way. And
Uh,
so there he is in all of his glory. So welcome, Gil, as well. And yeah, I'm excited about this show because we've got a full hockey roundtable talking about a ton of other sports that we don't usually get to talk about. Each one of you guys is going to bring a different sport to the table, so to speak. And we'll break them all down. And I want to thank everybody live across all the different platforms. First of all, there's a hype train already live on Twitch, so I really appreciate that. Tina, Carly, and Champ all subscribed. Champ for 31 months. He'll be coming on in the second hour talking both Olympic wrestling, some WWE wrestling, and also a little bit of DC sports news at the very end. And then we got Tina for 23 months and Carly Sings for 40 months, our first 40-month subscriber. So that's a pretty cool thing to see. But welcome in everybody across all the platforms. This is our first live stream on Kick. So welcome into that audience. We are back on YouTube Live, which I haven't been live since 2021 on there. So welcome to that audience as well. We're trying Instagram Live. I'm not sure the comments. I'm not sure if those are working, funneling through to us, but we're testing some stuff, and we're back live on Facebook on the actual Facebook page. I've had to go live on my own personal page the last couple of months, so I'm excited that we are across all these platforms live with all these great people to talk about the Olympics. I am currently have a 4-up display here. I love YouTube TV this time of year, especially when you can watch like all the different sports simultaneously. And so we got a little bit of a lot of different things from field hockey to volleyball, and so we'll definitely bring in live event information as I see it, and we're also going to talk about each one of our favorite events. But I'm going to introduce everybody real quickly, and thank you, Smart Marcus. No train should stall out on level one. Well, I appreciate that. Level one is complete, and I appreciate all the hype and the support and everyone for coming in. Willie in chat, and Davey's in chat, and Carly's in chat, and a lot of awesome people. So I really appreciate everyone for tuning in. And again, you can ask questions on any of the platforms, and it should funnel through. Davey does a sandwich eating show on this platform usually, but it's a variety show disguised around eating sandwiches. And it's a wonderful program. And we've talked sports together for 3 years now, Davey, across a wide variety of different sporting events. But how are you doing tonight?
Pretty good. How are you? It's Thanks for the invite. It's nice to see you again. I mean, it's a lot has happened in the 3 years since we did the last one of these, and it's kind of neat to see how all of us have kind of grown and evolved, and how the Olympics have grown and evolved, and once again we're presented with a really exciting time. So yeah, nice to see you. Thanks.
Yeah. It's cool to now get to have covered our third different Olympics here with two summer and a winter one on this channel, and it's fun to get your perspective as always. And we're gonna bring in Janaea next, and I love that I get to talk to somebody who's watching it outside the U.S. broadcast because I do admit that our broadcast is very skewed, which is fine. There's a lot of sports that the U.S. is in, so I understand that they don't probably have a ton of time to talk about the other ones. I do feel like I wish that they talked maybe a little bit more about some of those other things. But it's cool to hear your perspective from a Canadian point of view, especially because for a long time, obviously, Winter Olympics is Canada's thing. But this year they're doing pretty well in the Summer Olympics, and it's got to be pretty exciting. What are your thoughts on being a Canadian this time of year in the Olympics?
Yeah, it is exciting. I mean, you said it first of all, like Winter Olympics is our thing. That's where we clean up. But for obvious reasons, it's freezing throughout most of Canada for most of the winter. So a lot of people play winter sports here, hockey, figure skating, curling, stuff like that. So historically, we do great at the Winter Olympics, not so great at the Summer Olympics. But this Summer Olympics, Robbie, like you just said, and the last one actually as well,
Yeah, you guys did well last
Tokyo.
year.
Yeah, the last one we did pretty good as well. So it's great to see like there's a lot of progress being made in a lot of different sports, which I know we're going to get into. And yeah, it's really exciting just to see like I do have some favorite athletes in some of the summer sports as well. So it's exciting to see them doing well and just to see Canada doing well as a whole.
Yeah, I had to wear one of our favorite Olympians, the four of us, TJ Oshie, in his All-Star, one tonight, just because he's so legendary. I am excited that they're going to be bringing the NHL back to hockey in the Winter Olympics. So hopefully some of our guys can make that team. But yeah, it's been really fun. There's so many different events. I will be totally transparent with everybody. Last week was my son's 6th birthday. We went to 2 concerts and a science museum last week and threw a birthday party. So I was very busy. But in between events, I did. What's great about the YouTube is you can record. YouTube TV lets you record all the events, and so you can go back to like any one of them, even if there's like 20 things going on at the same time. So it's been helpful to go back and rewatch some of them that way. But there's just been so many interesting storylines. The next person I want to bring in is Anna, who you've coached swimming before. So I know
I
that
have.
are really big into swimming and things like that. And we have some incredible swimmers from the DMV area.
Yes.
It's been super fun to watch. How have you been this summer in general and
Yeah.
enjoying the Olympics so far?
Well, absolutely loving. I even have my own swimmer hair going on tonight. Don't be jealous because
Me
I swam.
too.
Yeah,
I
because I
just came out
swam.
of the pool too.
I
So
swam earlier today, and then I was like, you know what? I'm going to swim tomorrow. We're just going to let it go.
yep.
Yeah, no, it's been a good summer. It's been a good summer. I've got no complaints, post hockey. And I absolutely love the Olympics. I do. And there are some sports that I don't know, like I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say. And Gil,
Oui, madame.
oh mon ami, le chapeau est très bien.
Merci. Merci beaucoup.
Yeah, we'll just go with that. No, and isn't it funny? Like I had no idea. I didn't even know you were going to be on the show, honestly, until a little bit before when Robbie said you would do basketball and soccer. And then it was like, as soon as I put my headphones on, I'm like, he's going to come either with a beret or like all decked out like America attire. But you went beret, and that's okay.
Right. Yeah, maybe next.
So you like? You like it?
No, but
No.
I
I could have gotten one. I could have gotten one in the raspberry color, but the bourgeois salesman would not sell it to me because he said it was for prince only.
Exactly.
Not a regular
raspberry
man.
beret for you.
Yeah, we're already
Oh, thank
losing Janaea. Anyway.
But anyways, yeah. So
I'm
as for
Don't know what happened there.
oh, I know what happened, but that can
yeah,
be between us.
I
It's
know
all
what
good.
happened.
But no, I've been super pumped about the swimming. Oh my God, water polo. I guess it's not synchronous swimming anymore. It's artistic swimming. Everything has just been amazing. So there are a couple of sports. I'm not totally. I will just say I don't watch. But that's okay. And I kind of want to know what you guys feel are like, the highlights so far and what have been like not so much highlights.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll get into I just want to first give one quick shout out and then I definitely want to get into it. But I loved the podcast that you two did together, Janaea and Gil. The last 2 weeks you guys did an incredible off-season podcast. And so I would be remiss to say that people shouldn't go and check that. It's a 2-part show. Awesome stuff. A lot of great off-season information. So anybody who's into the cap stuff and is going to be missing that tonight should go definitely check out that. So I just want to put that out there first. You guys really hit it out of the park. I'm really happy to hear that show. And Janaea has some cool shows that she's done also this summer as well that you should go check out on hers. But with that, I agree. Let's get into it. I do want to start off with with swimming.
Mhm.
But then we can get into some of our other favorite ones. And, I was going to do swimming and gymnastics to start, and then we can move on. I know that Janae wants to talk about tennis, and Gil wants to talk a little bit about soccer and basketball, and we'll get into all of those in the next 45 minutes or so. But then we can also do favorite moments, least favorite moments, things that they were excited about, things disappointed. We can get into some of that stuff as well.
Absolutely.
And then Davey, I know, has watched a whole wide range of other sports, and we may even bring those into hour two. Some of the ones that maybe aren't talked as much about. And yeah, so let's get into the swimming first. Obviously, from an American point of view, Katie Ledecky, and that storyline and becoming, probably the greatest female athlete in the history of the Olympics.
Yeah.
It's a really incredible moment for her, and just how much she smashed it out of the park with that distance one, just where they had to like zoom so far out to even second place. It
The
was very
1500, yeah.
comical to me. And yeah, I mean, she was like lapping people. Like it was kind of like impressive.
Well, I don't
And
think what people understand is that, it's 1500 meters is an Olympic sized pool. You're basically swimming a mile. So you're swimming 60 laps. Um, in that in the pool that they're at, it's 30, but it's Olympic size. And to go out and to maintain and keep that pace and whatever is incredible. Like I know, so growing up, I know my coach had us do in yards. So we had to do 1650, which was the mile, a couple of times. It's brutal. I mean, it is a long time. I don't know how people sit and watch it, but you just get into your head. People will say, like, so what do you think about? I'm like, songs, really. Like you literally are thinking songs. What am I going to eat after this race? What am I going to do this weekend, kind of thing. And so when she got out of that race and absolutely dominated, and said that she was thinking about all the people that were part of her training and part of her like how she got to where she is, I got chills, because she just truly appreciates everything about the sport and then has just as much excitement for when she doesn't get the gold. People are like, wow, she didn't win the 400. I'm like, it's not her race. She still did well, but she's long distance. She's 800, 1500. Those are her things. And she's just such a person to absolutely admire in the sport of swimming. And I love just that she just always wants to challenge herself. And my God, the fact that she doesn't want to retire is admirable, but we'll see what happens.
yeah, Smarticus in chat says he really hopes that she returns in LA to go for 5 in a row on the 800.
Yeah.
It will be tough, but I'm all in for only doing that event in the 1500 just to hit the double distance as well.
100%. I think that that's where she should be. And then, like, even if she doesn't do relays, that's okay,
Just
because
mentor the next generation and
yes,
explain to them, and be that sort of coach in the pool, if you will. And
absolutely. And so I mean, like, I walked away, like, I know everybody was talking about Ledecky, and as they should. Like, you can't take anything away from her. I mean, goat, yeah, that's it. But I will say Gretchen Walsh
yeah,
was, holy shit, like, to watch that 100 fly and her to break the record. Simone Manuel, I was blown away by how amazing these swimmers were. And then I don't know, I can't kind of take away from Caleb Dressel. Here's a guy who 4 years ago everyone thought was cocky. He was too arrogant. He was too good. Whatever. He walked away with 5 medals. Then he had like a mental health breakdown, and he's been very open about it. And for him to come back and compete, I admire. And so he just was like fantastic to watch. But I will have to say, even going out of, the whole US, Marshawn, as much as I hate the name in hockey, and swimming, this guy was a badass. And it was amazing to see him break records and get gold for France.
yeah. No, it's awesome stuff. Janae, you watch any of this swimming, or do you have any thoughts on some of that stuff?
Did I watch the swimming? Summer McIntosh, hello.
Yes.
Did I watch the swimming? Oh my goodness. No,
That's-
this kid is unreal. We're calling it the summer of summer up here
Yeah,
in Canada.
and you should.
Yes.
Yeah, 17 years old. Like, I don't know what the hell I was doing when I was 17 years old, but it certainly wasn't winning 3 gold medals at the Olympics. Like,
Right.
that's just insane. Yeah, I mean, she comes in, she never loses a race, it seems like not just at the Olympics, but like they were talking about her like throughout the year and the last like since she was like 14, and she just basically never loses. That is a new Canadian record that she just set, like the 3 gold medals in one single Olympics. No Canadian has
Fantastic.
ever done that. So that's huge for her. I really enjoyed seeing her do the race that her mom had done. It was like 40 years ago, almost to the day that
Yeah.
her mom was in that same race. And so she had said that that was the one that she really cared about and really wanted to win for obvious reasons because of her mom. And she just smoked everybody in that one. So that was great to see. But yeah, I mean, she sets a couple of Olympic records. And it wasn't just her, like we had Kylie Moss. She won a medal again as well. I believe that's her 3rd consecutive Olympics now that she's medaled. So that's great for her. And then on the men's side, it was like everybody's kind of got summer fever up here, but on the men's side too, like our Canadian men, it's kind of been a bit of a running joke in Canada for a while, because while the female swimmers from Canada have been pretty dominant for quite a long time, like they're always bringing home a bunch of medals, the men's side, unfortunately, they had not won a medal. I think it was in like 12 years or something like that, that we hadn't had a male swimming medal. But they changed that at this Olympics. Like they got 3 of them.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of young kids that came in, Josh Liendo and Ilya Karun, and in one of the races they actually got the double podium. So Josh Liendo won silver, Ilya Karun won bronze, and I believe that was the first time for Canadian men's swimming that they ever got the double podium too. So lots of history being made. It was really cool to see. Everybody's really excited, and yeah, I mean, it's pretty much all of the talk has been about Summer McIntosh for obvious reasons, but like I said, there was a couple of other people giving some pretty good performances as well. So just wanted to shout that out as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's what this is for, is I'm definitely not gonna get them all. You
And
know,
Tori Husk.
everyone, you know, has
Can't forget Tori Husk.
yeah.
The Husk was great.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. So, Davey, any thoughts on some of the swimming stuff?
Oh, I'm really glad that both Anna and Janaya covered a lot of that in detail. That's great, because there's still so much to unpack even after all that.
Yeah.
It has been a lot of juice in the swimming this year. But one thing that's kind of a couple things that stuck out to me. We mentioned the legend of Ledecky, which is just great. Like, it was just great. And yeah, like, you know, the 400, definitely no cause for alarm there. Like, she also, I think, lost the 200 like in the previous Olympics, like, which is, again, the longer it gets, the better it gets for Ledecky, right? So if there were a 3,000 meter race,
Right.
Yeah.
She would dominate.
Yes.
absolutely.
Well, and I
It's
think
just
that's I think like people don't understand, and the only thing I can really compare it to, I guess, is running. It's like you're gonna have your sprinters and you're gonna have your long distance. And when it comes to a 200 in the Olympics, people may consider it a sprint because, you know, you're going to go all out. But when you're 400, 800, 1500, you have to pace yourself. And because oftentimes what happens is, you know, you have that moment of adrenaline and whatever, and you go and go and go, and you get that side cramp or something, and it, you know, it's a lot. You really have to have the mental awareness of what your body can do.
I was
And
going to
so,
say,
like,
I can barely wrap my head around 15 meters swimming,
right.
let alone 1500.
Right.
yeah.
If I tried something like that, I'd definitely get the cramps in the old Elysees, if you know what I mean.
Well, and it's like it's a whole different thing. And even just now, like when I see the swimmers in summer, they don't go more than just 50s. So you have to be a sprinter, but you can tell by the way their strokes are that if they had an opportunity to do 100 back or 200 back or 100 free or 200 free, they would be amazing. Sometimes sprinting is just not, it's not for everybody. So for Ledecky to be able to dominate in this field, not just because it's like, a favorite sport, but just because she can do it consecutively and she's so passionate about it, is really to be, the GOAT standard across, sports, because it is really quite challenging to be able to do that for that long.
Yeah, definitely. I'm gonna save I have a question for you, Anna. I want to get into, and
Yeah.
anybody else can field it too. But we'll get to that maybe after I do the recap here. We got to give a lot of credit to Bobby Fink. Actually, Smartacus just mentioned Fink in the chat.
Broke the record.
I will tell you, world record, and Smartacus has it down pat. Like, Fink's swim quite impressive to me. It was clear that he went out harder than he intended, but he felt he had to just keep going at that pace, and he did. It was kind of amazing how the 15. Now he had a silver in the 800, which is great. Like, that's great. In the men's distance swimming is pretty competitive. It was
Absolutely
clear it was not going to be a cakewalk. Even for as much as Bobby Fink won, it was a pretty competitive race, and I noticed that Gregorio Paltrineri was really kind of there for a lot of it, and that's a 1,500-meter race. The difference, I thought, was the turns. Like, every time he made a turn, he just kept gaining a little bit more and a little bit more. And towards the end of it, he's had a pretty comfortable lead. But I will say, I mean, between Paltrineri and the Irishman Daniel Whiffen, it was a pretty solid race. Like, that 1,500 final is probably as competitive as you can imagine something that long being.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so getting a world record is amazing. Fink had a really great Olympics. Unfortunately, interesting note, that was the only the only individual male U.S. American to win an event in swimming this year. That was interesting.
Yeah.
Like, I don't remember it being like that before. I guess it just goes to show you that the depth of swimming across the planet is certainly ramped itself up, and other factors. It was just interesting. I was surprised. I was like, they showed a chart of like American males to win medals. I'm like, no swimming? I'm like, and that was like earlier in the day. I'm like, and then Fink got that 1,500 towards the end.
Right.
It's an unusual spot. Couple other things I got to get into here. Sarah Sjöström from Sweden. Boy, I mean, you talk about a veteran of the sport. I mean,
Badass.
what an incredible moment for her, getting not only like the 50 was the 50 freestyle final. Like, that's one that she's known.
Yeah, but the 100.
But that 100 was wild, right? Like, it was just like, wow, like that was
the fact that it shocked her. She'd tell you, like, she was just like, wait, what? And at 30, it is a sport where you do have a huge gap in ages. Like, you've got McIntosh at 17, and then you've got swimmers who are in the 30s, and that's it. But that was a race that I absolutely loved.
Yeah, very exciting race. We mentioned the 200 individual medley in the women's side. I'll get to that in a minute. The U.S. men finally, after like 4 decades of dominance in the 4x100 medley relay, finally lose to China. A lot of mixed emotions there. I mean, I feel like this is a moment that had been coming. It had been getting closer and closer.
What a comeback, though. I was really impressed with the effort at the end of that, though, because we were so far behind and we almost back. It was an
impressive effort for sure. Like, yeah, definitely a lot of heart there. I agree. I mean, it wasn't for lack of trying, right? Like, it was just, it kind of really just says just how competitive this sport is now, for other countries, So like, you could tip the cap there, but like you said, it was very close. Like, it was like tenths of a second off. So last thing I get into here, Léon Marchand is what a great story for France. Like, that is so cool. So, y'all, in case you didn't already know, the coach for Léon Marchand is Bob Bowman. The legend that is Bob Bowman, who coached Michael Phelps at North Baltimore Aquatic Club. and Coach Phelps and how Coach Phelps later tore to the record 8 gold medals in the 2008 Olympics. I mean, this guy is an icon. He's been doing great on the college level too. So it was. I'm not going to tell the entire story because it's going to take too long. But he has been coaching him between Arizona State and Texas, and wherever the two of them have gone, they've dominated the like swimming in college and in their respective schools. So here in the Olympics, it was great to see Bowman. It might have been weird for a lot of people watching that because like he had a France shirt on. I'm like, oh, okay, but it was a great story, and and for to have that happen in Paris, it's just so cool. Like he won the 200 breast final, got the gold there. I think he got the gold in the butterfly final. Yeah, that was a really great race.
Not in the breaststroke, 200 fly, 200 IM, and 400 IM.
Did I say?
Yeah, he was just gold, wasn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, he dominated.
He really did.
I found myself cheering for him, and like I have no connection to France, but I was like, "Let's go!"
And I think that I feel 100% the same way, that it's a feel good story. And then when you see someone like Michael Phelps equally pulling for him, even if he knows he's gonna like possibly annihilate his Olympic records or whatever, good, and that's what you do. Like I
love that.
That's the whole not even just sportsmanship, but it's just like your admiration, for another athlete who's going to come up and probably take over like he did.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal story, and I'm happy for him too. Like he is a special, like you said, he's so young. So this is probably just the beginning. Like I think we're going to see more of it in a few years over here in LA. So it's incredible stuff. So I think there are other things we can get into. I know I want the mood's been pretty positive, so I don't want to get into the Panzanle scenario. I'm like, let's just say I'm calling shenanigans on that 100-meter result. Like I'm not going to get into that, but but
we could talk about Bob the cap catcher, just to end the swimming on a positive note. Like how great was that guy? I mean, honestly, when he came out and was just like, the fuck? And then and the people were clapping, he's like, yep, here I am. And I'm literally just gonna dive 5 feet, take a cap off the bottom, get out in front of the world, and I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna put my hands up, and everyone went crazy. I was like, yeah, go Bob. I don't even think that's his name, but that's what they call him.
Yeah,
that's phenomenal. So here's a question for you, Anna. This is something I was very curious to hear about since you have so much experience in swimming. So in that 200 individual medley, which Summer McIntosh took, and it was a really exciting finish, folks. If you didn't see it, like she came in the final length of the pool, and it almost felt like it was an inevitability at that point because her splits are so good in the freestyle. Like it was just crazy. So even though you had people ahead of her, like it was inevitable she was going to win. But in the middle of that, Alex Walsh had second place, but she got disqualified.
Right.
So she did not get the silver medal. The reason she didn't get it was because she messed up the turn from backstroke to breaststroke. And I've swam this event. I swam the 100, not the 200, but the 100. 200 is crazy. But
try the 400.
That's
a whole other.
That's just like I don't even know how you have legs after that. Like, but that turn is wacky, right, Anna? Like you have to reach back like this, and then you kind of come in and you basically position yourself forward so that you can do the breaststroke. Where did it go wrong for Alex Walsh on that turn? Because like, is it just an instinctual thing that you're rotating over to your stomach? Because normally when you do backstroke races, that's what you do. You do a flip turn.
Right.
So, like,
I think I want to say, and I mean, this is more like a summer swim rule kind of thing, but like you can't, if you're in the process of rolling to your stomach, like onto your front, you are not allowed to have any kind of kick that is on your stomach, like a freestyle kick. Like it would be a backstroke going in. And so there was some sort of motion there. And obviously, I mean, it's like crazy because of how fast they turn. That I believe it was something as simple as that, because she was even shocked. And I was like, my God, if you're an Olympian, you know how to do this. Don't think it was she didn't touch the wall, but I think it has to do with that. When as soon as you make that motion, you cannot have your feet move.
Right.
If that makes sense.
No, it does make sense. Like that's a really good observation. I was like, because it doesn't seem like it's something that they would even catch. It seemed like they're really nitpicking. But if you're kicking while you do that, then that's kind of that is definitely remote grounds for disqualification. So wow, that is some eye by the judges.
Absolutely, and that's why it's insane that when you hear of a disqualification, you're like, holy crap, because they've got cameras everywhere. But this person saw it, and it could just be just a very minor thing, especially in the Olympics, because it used to be you had to touch on your back and then move on to your stomach and go. Then they did a side turn, and then it was a crossover. So there's all these different things. But as far as I know, once you make that motion to move, you can't have any kind of kick.
Right. So it's basically you're running towards a wall. You have to reach out and touch the wall before you really do anything else with your legs. But then the rest of that is very efficient. Like you grab the wall, and then you're rotating this way, and then you're pushing off.
But some of them cross over. I know this is and kind of do like a flip turn. And I think that might have been what she did.
Yeah, it did look like a kind of like in the motion for a flip turn, which is a dicey scenario when you talk about breaststroke. It's not really something you do with breaststroke.
It is. And I think a lot of people who haven't watched swimming or don't care to, it's one of those things where you see the swimmers and they'll be like, why are they so like under the water for so long doing like this dolphin kick, or whether it's on their back or not. And it's just, it saves energy. It saves their, they don't exhaust as easily, but you have to have a huge lung capacity for that.
Yeah.
And so I think the turns have changed a lot. And unfortunately, this just does not work in her favor.
Yeah. Oh, Spartacus is asking the question. I'm not sure how you're supposed to go dead feet at that point in the tube, but I mean, it's not necessarily dead feet per se. Basically, what you're doing is you're just kind of like, you get about like maybe 1 meter there, like you probably would reach back.
Right.
So you already have momentum going into the wall anyway. So like you've already kicked a lot at that point. So it goes really fast. It's like boom, boom, kick that way.
Yeah.
But that rotation going in, like the rotation to go on your stomach is where if you're kicking in like even a little another kick in the middle of that, it can definitely be considered like cheating on some level. So that's where the objection. It's such a little thing. Like I bet you like 9 out of 10 people wouldn't even notice it.
Well, and if you look at just the span of all the swimming events, this was, at least I think, the only disqualification.
Yeah,
wild. So it's something that like she had to have done. She did do something, but that's what those people, those lane police are there to watch that, because they're also going to have the cameras underneath. But it's a little bit crazy. And it is hard to think that like to stop your momentum or to stop your feet, but it is all like just one motion. And if your feet separate.
What a tough way to lose an event, a big race like that, though. I just felt bad for her there, but it can happen. So anyway, that was a question. Sorry, Robbie, I didn't mean to.
Yeah, no, I was just watching this 500-meter final. It looked like this Kenyan bumps into this Ethiopian person and they lose momentum. So,
we're gonna get into another bump later in the program.
Yeah, but especially because they're trying to get all the top spots there. So there's some interesting. So anyway, sorry, it was a little. But it's interesting about the swimming. It's funny. The only swimming I ever do is underwater. I'm a big scuba diver, and my goal every time I go to the pool is to swim one length of the pool underwater without one breath.
Yeah.
So that's my endurance swim that I try to do every day. But I can't imagine, like, that's only 25. I don't know how they're doing 50. I don't know how they're. Yeah, no less 1,500.
With fins, Robbie. With fins.
Yes. Exactly. So, all right, let's get into some other sports. Gil, I wanted to give you an opportunity to talk. I know you want to talk about soccer a little bit. What are some of your thoughts on how that's gone so far?
Well, for the first round at least, anyway, it looked like well, the both the men's and the women's sides were going to go pretty far. And then once the men's team got into the knockout stage, they ran into a brick Moroccan wall, and that's all over with. So they're eliminated, unfortunately. The U.S. women's team, much has been made about what they're going through. They're in something of a transitional phase. Although they've got a lot of talent on that team, even now, even with a lot of big names retiring, but new coach, new playing style, but some emerging stars. I'm going to call them. Well, I'm going to draw on my IT experience. I'm going to call them the RSS feed. Of course, that's Rodman, Swanson, and Smith, Sophia Smith. One of which, if you love soccer in the DMV, we got one of those talents right here in our backyard. Plays in Audi Field, Trinity Rodman. You can enjoy her all to yourself if you just open your eyes and pay attention to the Washington friggin' Spirit.
Yeah. And good for her for earning a name aside from, her dad and everything. Like, I just absolutely admire her and her athletic ability on the field. Like, she's just, again, one to keep an eye out on because she is young, and I love that she's from this area.
Well, building on that point, she played a really critical role in when they got to the knockout stage against Japan. Now the new coach, Emma Hayes, kind of controversially decided to go, okay, no subs or very little subs. Lynn Williams came in late, but no other subs. And this thing went into overtime. And I can only imagine, because I used to play a long, long time ago, and my legs felt like stone after 45 minutes. I can only imagine 100 minutes plus. Trinity Rodman not only scored the winning goal, she was everywhere. She was front field, backfield, playing defense, midfield. She was everywhere she needed to be. And pretty easy to name her woman of the match. But if you noticed, she was helping out on defense as well as keeping the offense up tempo. So I don't know if they're a lock for the gold. They've made the semis, so they'll definitely be playing for a medal. I don't want to say they're a lock for a gold, but it's looking pretty good. I think they might need to change their tactics a little bit. They played Germany. They already beat Germany. They're playing Germany again in the semis. I think they got a pretty good chance to beat them. But I'm not. I want to be sold on this team, but I'm really not. Not just yet. Getting back to the men for a second, I'm kind of disappointed. Like I said, it's but it's got to be. I got to mention this. The Olympics are kind of weird as far as soccer goes. There's a restriction on the men's side. You cannot field more than 3 players over 23 years of age. The women's side, no such age restriction. Everybody's senior level. You could be 40 years old. I think Christy Sinclair of Canada, she's still playing. She's got to be what? She's what, 39, 40 now?
And she just retired. She's retired now, but she played up until she was like she's up there for sure.
And she's still carrying it. Speaking of Canada, wow. That was the first scandal of the Olympics, the Spygate thing. I don't want to drone on and on about it, but we've all heard about it by now.
Good pun.
Sorry. But seriously, they
don't encourage.
They suspend.
I love a good dad joke. I love.
Sorry,
a good dad
guy.
joke. I've told him that.
Can't. There's no off switch on this thing.
No, there's not.
Anyway, in all seriousness, the coaching staff was suspended, banished from the Olympics. The players were left directionless. I felt really bad for them. I don't think that was really a fair punishment. I really don't. Because they're not, I mean, it's not like they went out and advocated for this thing. And the theme was every team does it. I'm pretty sure every team does it in some form. And I don't know why they do it, because it's not really beneficial. I don't think anybody really benefits from it, but every team does it. And I think it was really unfair to dock 6 points from a team, from the players. You put it on the players. They basically had to win all 3 games. Guess what? They won all 3 games and they made it to the knockout round. So props to them. But yeah, that was, I hated seeing that. I really do. I think that was administration again getting in the way of performance. But props to the Canadian women's team for not letting that get them down. Although unfortunately they would fall in the quarters. But they it's disappointing because they were the defending Olympic gold medalists, but they didn't deserve to go out in the first round for sure. So I'm glad they at least made it to the knockout stage. I think as far as the gold medal, U.S. is on a collision course with Spain, and Spain, of course, the newly crowned World Cup champs on the women's side. That's going to be one hell of a match. If the U.S. can get the offense going, I think they've got a great chance. But right now, again, they're in a transitional phase. Emma Hayes is still trying to figure out, what to do with these 11, 12, 13 stars that she's got that can dominate when they turn it up. But I don't think we've seen their best yet, which is why they've got a good chance. But again, I need to see more. That's the problem I have with the women's side, but I like what I'm seeing so far.
Yeah, I do. I do too. Janae, talk a little bit about soccer, because I know the women did really well. It's a tough loss to Germany in that match for sure.
Yeah, I hate when they lose on penalty kicks. I don't know why.
Oh, the worst.
I hate that. I hate settling a game that way. In hockey too, I hate it. Like you're at the Olympics and you settle a gold medal game in a shootout. Like it's just seems ridiculous to me. But yeah, I mean the bigger story was definitely like through the group stage play. I completely agree with Gil. Like as an athlete myself, I really hated that punishment. I thought that was just complete bullshit, to be honest. Like punish the coach, like which they did, but like ban the coach, kick the coaching staff out, whatever, that's fine. Don't punish the players though, who have worked their entire lives to get to that moment. And frankly, like when I listened to them speak, like I believe them that they never saw any drone footage. Like they weren't shown it. It's not like the coaching staff was showing it to them. The coaching staff was using it, I guess, for their own benefit to come up with, schemes and whatnot and whatever. But yeah, I believe it. You alluded to it. I believe it was, I can't remember if it was one of the American men or one of the men's players on one of the teams. He basically said like every team does it. Like he was in agreement that like that punishment was way too harsh. It's kind of one of those things where it's not whether or not you do it, it's just whether or not you get caught. So I think they were stupid enough, obviously, to get caught, but like I just thought punishing the players for that to me was complete crap. Like you think about everything that you go through as an athlete to get to that point, like where you're having a chance to play for an Olympic medal. And it's just like, it's not even just the last 4 years of training, it's your entire life, right? And then to have that essentially taken away. It didn't work out that way, obviously, because they went undefeated through the group stage and erased the 6-point deficit and made it to the quarterfinals anyway, which was amazing. But essentially that 6-point deduction was to take them out of the Olympics, right? So to me, to put that type of punishment on the athletes, I didn't like it at all. And I was really, really happy, as was the rest of the country, that they were able to erase that 6-point deficit and get through to the quarters. Obviously, like I said, lost on penalty kicks in the quarterfinal, but everybody up here was super proud of them that they even made it to the quarterfinals after all of that, for sure.
Yeah, there's no place for that. That was just out completely uncalled for, just given that kind of punishment. So it's just ridiculous. I agree.
For sure. We want to make sure that we be mindful of everyone's time and try to get all the different events that we want to talk about. I know that Janae wants to talk a little bit about tennis.
Mhm.
So I think we could go there next.
Just if we have time, it's not a big deal.
Yeah, no, I think we can do it now. So I think that it's a good opportunity. There's been some incredible matches. Obviously the fact that they get to play in the French Open, in the Roland Garros, and Nadal getting an opportunity to play one more time, on there. It was really special, I thought. And he had, a couple different opportunities there, and so he's one of my all-time favorite tennis players. So I was just happy to see him get at least one more shot at it. But what were some of your thoughts on the tennis?
Me?
Mhm.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, I watched quite a bit of the tennis. I got really into it, just as a sport as a whole. Like, I guess it's been a while now, like, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago or so. My mom was really into watching it, so we kind of got into watching it together. And then we finally had some good Canadian tennis players coming up. So, which they're all still really young. Like, on the women's side, obviously, Leylah Fernandez, Bianca Andreescu. And then on the men's side, Felix Auger-Aliassime, he just had an amazing run here at the Olympics. So really young players, but they've been good for quite a while now. Like, they started really young. So we got really into watching them. And yeah, we had just a number of great performances by a number of those usual suspects. Leylah Fernandez is probably my favorite non-hockey athlete right now, to be honest. Like, I just love her. Ever since she kind of burst onto the scene, like with that, I don't know if you guys really watch a lot of tennis, but she had that run to the US Open final when she was like 18 years old a few years ago, back in 2021. So that's kind of when she announced herself, and I've been watching her ever since then. She just has a really great attitude on and off the court. Someone that, as Canadians, I think Canadians just really like her because she kind of personifies what it is to be Canadian. Like, when they throw the ball up to serve it, she'll throw it up in the air. And if she screws up the toss and she has to catch it again, you can literally hear her on the camera say sorry to the other player. So just like stuff like that. Like, she's just super, super Canadian. So I think that's why a lot of people really like her. But yeah, she had a good performance at the Olympics. She made it through to the round of 16, where she unfortunately ran into Angelique Kerber, who was obviously a former world number one, and she was playing like it again. Surprisingly, she just was having the match of her life. So she got knocked out by her, but a good run nonetheless. And then Bianca Andreescu, she made it through to the second round, and then she unfortunately suffered another injury. So that's not good. She has had a really tough time with injuries. Another one of my favorite players, but yeah, hoping she's gonna be healing quickly. And then Felix on the men's side was probably, I guess, the biggest story of the Olympics, because he went all the way through to the semifinals, not only in the singles but in the mixed doubles as well. Unfortunately, he ran into Carlos Alcaraz in the semifinals, so that's not great. But I believe they said, like, coming into that semifinal match against Alcaraz, Felix, he had not had his serve broken. Like, he hadn't been broken through the entire Olympics up until that
Wow.
point. Like, he was playing singles, mixed doubles, and men's doubles. So 3 different events, and he had not been broken in any of the 3 up until that point. And then Alcaraz broke him, I think, almost every single service game that he had. So, yeah, that was a bit of a wake up call for him. But he still got to play in the bronze medal match, which was awesome. It's been a long time since Canada's been there. And then with the mixed doubles, again, they were playing for the bronze medal, and they won. So that is Canada's first Olympic medal in tennis since I believe it was 2000 in Sydney, Australia. So
Nice.
pretty cool. But yeah, it's a sport that I really like to watch. And then obviously Novak Djokovic ended up beating Alcaraz in the final. I don't know how you guys feel about the Alcaraz versus Djokovic thing, but Alcaraz is probably, honestly, like, he's probably my favorite men's player to watch right now. Djokovic, obviously, an all-time great, but yeah, it was a great match for the final for sure.
Yeah,
It's a great
Djokovic.
rivalry. I mean, I
Yeah.
know that Alcaraz and Djokovic in Wimbledon was a really fun match, and
Mhm.
you know, Djokovic wasn't 100%, and Alcaraz really showed just how amazing he can be at such a young age, and he couldn't keep up. So it looks like turnabout is fair play here for Djokovic. Am I right?
Yeah. Well, it's just so crazy to watch Djokovic and his longevity in the sport, just how
Yeah.
long he's been able to play at this level.
Kind of
Yeah,
love to hate him.
yeah, exactly. I mean, because
Yeah, I hear that.
I would say over the last couple of years, I haven't followed tennis quite as much, but over my lifetime, tennis has been a big thing in my family, and so we've always been following it. I always loved Wimbledon and the French Open and the U.S. Open, and they have the City Open here in D.C., so it's a very popular thing. In fact, Wes Johnson, the guy who does the Capitals announcing at live games, is also does the City Open, live. So I think that's kind of cool that he announces both of those, and but yeah, some really exciting matchups. It's just
Uh,
hard. Djokovic at the top level is always
But
hard.
do any of you have an opinion on that Coco call?
That's a good one.
Just curious. Like,
I
was
did not
it
see the call, but I saw her, like, I didn't see the call itself, but I saw her reaction to it. And
yeah.
to be honest, like, I don't know, like, I always have liked Coco Gauff. I didn't really love her,
Reaction.
I'm gonna call it overreaction to
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Agree.
It's kind of one of those things. Like I said, I didn't see the what had her so upset. Like they never actually replayed it here, so I didn't get to actually see what actually was the call that actually had her so upset. I just thought that whether she was right or not, she probably could have handled that a lot better.
And
I
like
agree.
tennis is
It
made up of
could be
so many
age.
points. Like you can get your stuff back together and try. Like I just felt like it
Yeah.
wasn't. She kind of gave up after that.
It didn't win the match. Yeah,
Yeah,
like it
No.
wasn't like
exactly.
match
Right.
over. Like
Yeah.
you're the number 2 in the world, you can come back, like so,
Yeah,
I don't know.
it's kind of a learning moment for Coco, right? Like I didn't see it either, but that certainly surprises me that she would have reacted that way.
It was over the top.
Yeah,
But
no,
I
I
also
mean,
think like then you look at age and think, 4 years from now, in the next Olympics, if she did it, I would be like, okay, I'm super over her, but I don't think in 4 years she's gonna have the same reaction if it was to happen again. Because I think she just needs to yeah, so you have to humble yourself at times.
I
it'll
kind of
happen.
feel like this has happened before to her. I don't know why.
Yes,
It's
yeah.
not. Yeah, and
She did. She had one a while back that was
yeah.
very similar, and that's kind of why, like I said that to a friend of mine. I'm like, that's the second time now I've seen her react like
Yeah.
that,
And
Yeah.
it's
and I
all,
don't
it's
really
not
love it.
fair. It's just against
Yeah,
me.
the
Like,
world's against me.
yeah.
Like,
No,
kind
they're
of.
not.
Yeah, get over yourself. I hate that because it really undercuts the win by the other person. It really
Yeah.
makes that person, they can't really celebrate it in the same way, and that's just really kind of a shame, especially at this level in the Olympics where sportsmanship is supposed to be paramount, and it's just a game, but it's
Things
not.
do get heated with tennis, though. Djokovic
Yeah.
has certainly had many moments like that too, right? So, like, it's
Oh, he's
Yeah.
been a total jerk. Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
Right,
I'm not
so
really a Djokovic fan either. Like I of course, like I respect the player. That's why I said like one of the all-time greats. Obviously, titles speak for themselves, but
You
just
have to like him.
his personality, I'm not
Yeah.
a fan. Yeah.
No.
right, completely fair.
I mean, a
So,
lot of those greats that are up there, I feel in a similar kind of way. Like
Absolutely.
that's one of the things I liked about Nadal a little bit more than the others. I felt like he was always a little bit more humble. It seemed,
Better.
yeah, at keeping that together.
better.
I don't know.
I
Yeah,
would go back even further. I'd say Pete Sampras was a true class act. He was
yeah,
great. Yeah.
yeah.
Uh,
So,
related question for Djokovic. It's interesting that these matches are only best of 3 sets. Like most professional tennis is
I thought
best
it was
3 out of
5.
5.
right.
If both of the sets went to tiebreaker, so to Janaya and anybody else in our call, like if it was best 3 out of 5, do you think Alcaraz could have come back from that and somehow won?
I do, yes.
I
Yeah.
do too.
Because he's done
Yeah.
it so many times in a 5-set match. Like he does that all the time. And Djokovic being, I don't know exactly how old he is. He's got to be what, 38, 39, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's up there.
And he was kind of like Djokovic was kind of showing some fatigue throughout the Olympics. So I think if it was a 5-set match, Alcaraz definitely would have had at least he would have had a chance to come back.
Yeah.
Why don't they do the 5-set match?
A lot of things in the Olympics they shorten a little bit because I
Yeah.
think fatigue is partially to do with it. There's also a lot of matches within a short period of time. They have to
Okay.
get a lot of matches in a short period of time, where you have a little bit more time with some of these other tournaments. You
Right.
But Djokovic is actually 37. I just found out here. So
That's really old for tennis, though. Like that's
Yeah.
like ancient. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like your knees
Sure.
have got to be like 137.
I was just more curious if he's older or younger than me, and the answer was yeah. So yeah, it's been interesting. So Janae, any other sport that you wanted to bring up, and then I'm gonna let Gil talk a little basketball after that.
Yeah, nothing in particular. I mean, yeah, we can do basketball. I don't know if you guys were going to talk gymnastics at all.
Yeah, we
That
should
was
definitely
pretty
do that.
that was pretty interesting. I do just want to say, like, one thing that I wanted to say on here and that I want to get out of the way is that I personally think that the Olympics needs to have one like regular person competing in each of these events, just for
Oh, that'd be
reference.
so great.
Yes.
Like just like a regular, like literally just as a point of reference, just like your regular, just average Joe, just
Yep.
stick one of them in there for each event, just so that we can all see at home. Because I feel like that's important, just because I feel like we all sit on our couches at home and we're like the broadcasters do such a great job of, because a lot of these sports, it's like they're sports that we only watch like once every 4 years, right? So I don't know how you guys feel, but for myself, like I get a lot of information from the broadcasters, and I'll kind of like I'll start watching an event, like say whether it's like gymnastics or like the synchronized diving is another good example, like stuff like that. Like I'll sit and I'll watch it, and I don't really know what's going on at the beginning, but then as I go through the event, I really know what's going on because the broadcasters do such a great job of telling you like what's good and what's bad and what you're looking for and what you're not looking for and things like that. And I just feel like so many of us, myself included, like we're sitting at home on our couches and we're just like the synchronized diving. Like I felt literally like Gordon Ramsay. Like they jump in the water, they're jumping from like 10 meters up in the air, doing like a triple backflip with 3 twists and into the water. And they make like the teeniest, tiniest splash. And I'm like, you fucking donkey. Like,
Yeah.
why are you splashing? You're not supposed to
Fuck.
splash. Like, I can do it with no splash. Come on. Like, so
Oh,
I feel like we're just sitting there watching this stuff from our couch, like eating chips and salsa or
Oh,
whatever.
yeah.
And we're like, I could do that. Come on. So I want to see one average, regular Joe person in
Can
each
Snoop
event. That's
Dogg
what
be
I
our
wanna see.
average person? Because he's
100%. His swimming with Michael Phelps.
yeah,
Yes.
that would be.
Yeah.
I want Snoop Dogg to do all the events.
But
That
it's,
would be
but,
amazing.
you know what? I agree with you because I think that we couch coach very easily. I could have a gold medal in all the the Olympic sports, being like, what the hell were you thinking doing that dismount out of bounds? Like, what was wrong with you? You know, kind of thing. But it is so true, and it's like I don't think people really know, like, holy crap, how intense some of these events are, what it entails, and everything. And I think an average Joe in there per sport would be awesome.
It would be amazing. It would be such great entertainment.
It would.
Yes, 1000%. I want to see it in the 100-meter dash because
oh my god,
oh my gosh,
it'd be barely taken off, and
all
everyone else is
8
done.
other people are going to be leaving.
All right. They're between rugby.
Oh, yeah, God.
Can we talk about the Turkish shooter? I mean, like
truckload of
yes.
biofreeze after the first 10 meters.
The Turkish shooter. We have to cover the Turkish shooter. We have to cover the Turkish shooter.
Yeah, he is awesome. And he just the no eye gear, the no nothing, the nonchalant,
the hand in the pocket.
The hand in the pocket was what got me. That was what got me. He just looked like he just like literally like woke up, rolled out of bed, and just wandered into the Olympics. And he's just like,
well,
and then when he says, "I'm a natural shooter," I'm like, yes, you are. Like, I'm not even questioning it. You are fantastic, and I think you're fucking badass. So when he's like, I'm just in that, yeah, you, because no one casually walks in. I mean, especially when they pan and show like all the apparatus.
Yeah.
I was like, holy shit, these, and then this guy comes in, and I'm sure they're looking at him like, oh, this guy's a joke, but he's like, precise, silver, whatever, divorce the
Sweatpants,
wife, I want my
t-shirt, no
dog.
gear.
Yes. The memes though, and the stories that they did with them of like why he's such a good shooter, and the internet just had a field day.
Well,
Yeah.
that guy's got to be like he's a contract killer for sure, right?
Right.
He's got to be.
100%. They're just like, he's every like movie assassin kind of thing. It's like, but he's so the whole story. Like, I even wrote it down. I'm like, we have to talk about Yusuf as a Dikek.
Amazing.
It doesn't even matter.
Yeah,
He's a
Yusuf is
badass.
wonderful.
It was
Yeah.
one of my favorite moments of the Olympics. It was hysterically funny. When you
Yeah.
just saw the gear and the equipment that everybody else is wearing,
It's
and then
ridiculous.
this guy's just like I said, literally just rolled out of bed and walked into the Olympics and
Boom.
win a silver
Yeah.
Fantastic.
medal. Yeah, like this is so funny and so badass. Congrats to him.
For sure, for sure. There's been a lot of like great moments like that. It's just I do think we should maybe get into the gymnastics because just I mean
Yeah.
the dominance of them in the team, but then there's been a little bit of slip ups here at the end here with the individual medals. But just I don't know, just Team USA is just so incredible, and just the lack of Team Russia there to like really
Yeah.
it's weird to not have the rival. I mean China is definitely a rival too. I don't want to shortchange them, but I don't know. It's created a very different dynamic here, especially in gymnastics that I found. But Anna, what were some of your thoughts on the gymnastics?
Well, I mean, of course, we're going to talk about Biles. I mean, another goat and fantastic, and another nod to, I will say, like Caleb Dressel took that time off, mental health reasons, did what works for her and came back even stronger. But her support for her teammates, like it's just amazing to watch the whole story. But I will say, aside, yeah, pommel horse guy,
Mhm.
love. Can't can't not love Steven. But I will say, my favorite out of the whole gymnastics was Frederick Richard. I have to say, there was something about his infectious smile, his effort, his parents in the stand, everything about him. Only 20. What a great story and a great athlete. And he's, we'll see more from him for sure. I don't know, but I do have to admit, I watched the whole beginning of the pommel horse guy with my daughter, and I was like, well, look at this guy. Look at him with his glasses and just kind of hanging out and closing his eyes and getting in the zone. And then like the internet just exploded on this like Clark Kent and everything about him. And then when you hear him talk afterwards, I'm like, oh my God, he just is in the moment and loving everything about it, and good for him. But hats off to both the American women and men's side of gymnastics. Like, so impressive and good for them. I loved it.
The pick that tip of the cap to the men's team too, because like they hadn't medaled in a team event in a
And like
while.
26 years or 24 years or whatever it was. Yeah. Awesome.
I love the pommel horse. It was mentioned in chat, just like him coming in. Everyone's like, "Oh, you just got a ringer." That's kind of a weird thing. It's rare to get such specialist people that can't really do anything else. But
What a
him with that,
badass.
Clark Kent to Superman taking off the glasses and blind as a bat, but just still able to pull off an incredible routine.
Literally looked like he was asleep on the bench too.
Yeah, I
And then he
know.
just goes out there and pulls off that absolute banger.
But I
Yeah.
love that he calls himself a nerdy guy, that he can, do Rubik's Cube in 10 seconds. And he's like, hey, everyone's about Simone Biles and should be, but there's also us, and it's so, I don't know, for me, I think like when I'm looking at pommel horse, I'm like, oh my God, like that's such a skill. Again, if we had an average show, I don't even know what my inner thighs would be like so banged up from hitting every apparatus, every part. I wouldn't even be able to get on it. But the fact that he's only 5'4", it, I fucking A, you go, Steven. Like, you're awesome. And his spirit, everything, and they all riled around him and everybody. I just absolutely loved it. But that is one, I don't know, between that and the rings, I'm just blown away with.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing what they're
It's
able to
insane.
do. Like I'm watching right now, Simone do a crazy routine on one of the networks right now, and just yeah, she came out a couple of times, and you can know that she's not happy with herself, but she's just such a perfectionist that she's just so
Yeah.
but we couldn't do half of what she's trying to accomplish, and
Oh no.
so
That's what I
but
mean about the regular person, right? It's like you're
That's
sitting there
100%.
watching and we're on our coach like, hey, her feet came apart on that triple front flip into 4 twists and landing one-legged on a balance beam. Like, no, but her feet are apart. You got to dock her for that.
yeah, oh my God, just watching how many twists she just did on that one. Oh, it's just
She's
crazy.
amazing.
Yeah,
And I appreciate, like, they're the other sports athletes that have come out to support her and admire her, and you know whatever. Like the only thing Michael Phelps and Tom Brady was there, and it's like you kind of have to appreciate the fact that they're a completely different sport, their own GOAT status, and that they also are taking in her skill and her amazing talent. I appreciate that, like I don't need to see the celebrities, who are attending it, but when you see the sports athletes supporting other athletes, I think that's always great.
it's just so cool how many different
Does
sports there are. Like I'm just watching, like there's things like badminton on, it's just
Yeah,
things that
no,
you would just and like they are just wild at how fast
I
they.
can't.
And I'm just like, these are sports that I just never even imagined to be played
Yeah.
at this level, right? It's just it's
Breaking.
kind of amazing.
I
Yeah.
love watching the breakdancing, the table tennis is
Table
nuts.
tennis is on a whole other level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Handball.
I don't know, like you can't even see the ball going back and forth. It's insane.
Yeah.
There was a lady, oh shoot, I can't remember what country she's from now, but she made her Olympic debut in table tennis at like she's like 58 years old or something. Did you guys see that?
I did
No,
not.
that's
It's
awesome.
such a good story. Yeah, it's such a good story. She like I guess she used to play when she was younger, and then she was really good, obviously. And she got cut from the team for something that like wasn't her fault or whatever. So then she ended up quitting. But then she had promised herself, like since she was a little girl, that she would go to the Olympics one day. And so she got back into training like in her 50s, and she just made her Olympic debut 58 years old.
I
That's
freaking
amazing.
love that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But I
There's a,
do like watch when they like hold the ball and then it's like they have to have it at a certain angle, and then like just I was like I can't get into that. I can't.
yeah. But it's crazy. Like Tony Hawk just did a post I read on Facebook just right before the show, congratulating one of his friends who's in his 50s for being in the skateboarding competition in the Olympics. Skateboarding
Nice.
his
Yeah.
50s. I'm like, what? That is wild. Like there's some of the athletes that just come out and can perform at these different ages. It's just I don't know. It's just a really impressive thing. But someone on Facebook just said, "Go, grandma." Um, so yeah, let's try and figure out. I know it's 10:15, and I know I was gonna let Janae and Anna go a little bit earlier, and Gil can talk basketball in just a few minutes with us. But I just want to make sure that we get in all the sports that you guys wanted to talk about. So, Anna, I'll ask you: is there any other topics you wanted to address before we let you go?
No, I will let the rest of you talk about the pole vaulting guy when I exit. Just kidding.
I'm not going to touch the 10-foot pole, right? There you
Oh,
Oh, well, yeah, look at Gil.
Gil is proud. Gil's
Gil
proud.
is
I can-
proud, 100%. No, you know what? I've been really happy with, the coverage. I like the Flavor Flav on the women's water
That's
polo.
so amazing. I
'Cause
love.
Go ahead.
Who would have had Snoop Dogg and Flavor Flav being able to dominate the Olympic conversation?
Yeah.
No
Well,
one
and I
had that on the bingo
definitely,
card.
I think if I saw if I saw it ahead of time, I would have been like, really, this is where we're going? Like, really? But the fact that like, I will say Snoop, yeah, knows the sports and he gets it. And Flavor Flav, I was like, but you know what? He came out and the way he supported women's water polo, I so respect and knows the sport and isn't, just there for like, camera reasons, whatever. Truly like appreciates the athletes. And I appreciate that about him. So he's been really kind of, a badass. And Snoop, 100% love him.
His
I don't
fit,
think,
this thing, like who's ever addressing Snoop and following him around, just it's
oh my
on
God,
point. Like
the
he has the
equestrian.
best outfits, the equestrian one. Oh my God. I loved him going to the nicest French restaurant in Paris and trying to get him to eat snails. And that was one of the best bits. Like it's just these things that are,
Yeah,
nothing to the game whatsoever, but just highly entertainment. But the other thing I liked, is that they seem to like they came in supporting specific people, especially Flavor Flav, but
right.
heard other stories of other people who needed help and he jumped in. So it's really not just this sort of one trick thing. They're really there to support the games in whatever means necessary. And I really love that, because it could easily be like, oh, I already gave this one team a handout, I'm tapped out, I did my thing, right? Like
Right.
he didn't have to go out of his way to message people and help them out too. So I
And
just
also did sports that were not just, track and field or gymnastics, like,
The ones that get
when
the endorsements, yeah.
right.
absolutely, like, you want to say went out of the comfort zone, but then also learned and respected the rules of the sport and whatever. Because I'm pretty sure, you're like Flavor Flav, did you really ever play water polo? Probably not, but the fact that he got to know the players, the rules, so because and that's another like brutal sport. I mean, I played not competitively at all, but it is hardcore. And so I admire the fact that they're kind of bringing the attention to other sports. And I think it's been fantastic. And to see that. So like, so people like Snoop and then Bob the Cap guy, I mean, it's like, yeah, how do you not just walk away and be like, you know what, it's been a good Olympics and it's been
We're only
nice.
halfway through. We get to
Yeah. But
we
it's
get
been nice for like everyone to kind of like watch it and not focus on like, I don't like politics and the election and all the other heartaches and everything. It's like kind of give us a break to look as a world, be like, hey, look, this is what we're doing. And it's really special to all of us and, united for 2 weeks. Okay, I'll take it.
That's why
yeah.
sports are so great.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I agree.
100%.
We needed this so badly in this
Yeah.
world, and so I think the one question mark I have is making them swim in the Seine. I don't, I know they tried to, fix that, clean that up, but I'm like, I don't know
Disgusting.
about that. Like,
E. coli.
Yeah.
The one girl said she was like hallucinating
Oh my
and
God.
like, oh my
but
God.
so, like, I don't understand. So they have like the big surfing competition around the world because they have good waves there. Why can't they just have the
Yeah.
swimming competition somewhere else too? Like,
Absolutely. Well, and I was like, and didn't didn't they have all those boats for the opening ceremonies going like down?
yeah.
Oh, I was like, I don't know. Then you have swimmers in it right afterwards thinking that the water's going to be okay and people vomiting. That was my big con. Like, I don't care about the opening ceremonies. It's not even worth talking about, but the triathletes, breaks
Yeah.
my heart.
Yeah, that's wild. It's just like they've
The
done a lot.
Canadian guy hopped out of the river and he
How did
vomited
they
like
not
12
see-
times in a
Yeah.
row. Like,
What were they thinking? Like, how did they not see this coming? It has a
Did,
reputation for
and
being.
they talked about it for years that this was going to be a
Yeah.
problem,
So
and
why
then
would
they like
do
promised.
this? Like,
Well,
isn't there
I
a
mean,
lake
even if-
somewhere you could go instead? Like,
Right.
what are we thinking?
they
Even if
talked
they
about it for a
said-
long time beforehand, and then I guess they decided to just be like, you know what, let's just see what happens. And
Ugh.
nothing
They
good
tried to
happens when
throw
you put
money
that.
at it to like fix it. There was like whole entire things put into the water to try
Right.
to pollute it, but it's like I don't think that they had any idea how polluted it was. Like that wasn't ever
Right.
gonna work unless you're like
Well,
throwing $1 million
My
at
husband and I were saying, like, even if they tell you like anything above a 5.0 is safe and it's a 5.1, it's still not, I'm still not convinced it's safe. I'm still not going to go jump in the Hudson. I'm not going to go jump in the Potomac. I am like, let's think about this. And then, to see the athletes vomiting, it's like, and 2 were hospitalized. It's heart-wrenching. They train for it, knowing, like, we all knew it was
Imagine
going to be
putting 4 years
bad.
of effort into that. Oh, that would be
Oh, hell
And
no.
how do you even like, that's what I was thinking, like, how do you even train for that? Like, when you know it's going to be there, like, it's not like you're going to go practice swimming in a polluted river for 4
Right.
years, you know, like nobody's going to do that. So
mutated abilities.
yeah, you just pop some gravel
I mean,
beforehand
there's
and
no
just
way.
cross your fingers and hope it goes okay. Like,
you're
Ugh.
either gonna like do that, or you're gonna turn into a superhero, and you'll be in the
Right.
next Marvel movie or
Turn
something.
green
It's
and
like,
who
It
knows
kind of
what.
reminds me of that Simpsons character with the third eye fish, like
yeah.
Oh.
I guess we'll see.
I can't believe they actually attempted that. I mean, like,
Oh, it's disgusting.
it's unbelievable.
yeah, it's definitely the biggest gaffe I think, from a planning point of view, like just like
Well, and I think
Yeah.
Crap safe.
even before, a couple months before the Olympics, who knows what channel, some god awful channel that has terrible movies on it, USA or whatever else. There was like a sharks attack movie in Paris, and all of them were in the Seine. And Ian and I were watching it, just being like, this Sharknado is bad. This is just Sharknado in France. Like, it's so god awful. It's like, how does
Wait,
this even happen?
I want
And
to.
then
Do
we
you have a
were
link to
saying
that
it's like
movie?
foreshadowing.
we need to watch this movie.
Oh yeah,
If
you
you're
have
the
to
Discord
find
night.
it.
But
I don't even know.
Sharknado is so bad that it's good.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's so bad that it's good that I actually watched it and was like, the fuck? Foreshadowing for the Olympics, something about, I forget what they call it. I don't even know, but I'm sure you can look up like shark movie in Seine and they'll be like, okay, yeah.
There's not a
0
ton of
stars.
those.
This is gonna be my viewing for tonight.
Exactly.
Please do. It's
Um,
awful.
This is pretty funny. I love chat on Facebook. We're like, how do you even award medals? Eric says, and it says constitution over competition. I guess they have to have. And then Smarticus says, hey, French cinema is grossly underrated. So, so some great comments there from chat. I appreciate everyone for tuning in on all the different platforms tonight. Yeah, it's been wild. There's so many different adventures, that we could even and paths that we could go down. So many different storylines. But I'm happy that we were able to break some of them down with you, Anna. And I will let you go. I know that you have a bedtime soon, but I really appreciate your time. And I know it's going to be a couple months until I get to see you again until
Yes,
season. But October can't come soon enough in my book, and
no doubt.
we'll definitely be chatting as we get closer to that. But Anna, thank you for bringing your insight into swimming with the coaching and stuff like that. It's always invaluable, and to talk
Absolutely.
about a sport with melted water instead of frozen water for a while.
Exactly. And then now I'm with the heat out here. I'm ready for fall. I'm ready for October, and I'm ready for winter sports.
Yes.
Holy crap. But yeah, have a great night. Whatever you guys are talking about. I don't know if wrestling I haven't watched, but
Yeah.
we'll just leave it with the pole vaulting guy and the Turkish shooter.
There you go.
And that would be a great movie title.
Yeah.
All right. Have a great night, guys. I'll see you soon.
Thank
Have
you
a good
so
one,
much,
Adam.
Anna.
Night, partner.
Bye.
So,
Before,
yeah,
really quick, can I make one more gymnastics point?
yes, for sure.
We gotta give a lot of love to the Philippines, Carlos Idraliulo, who for winning the second ever gold medal in the Philippines history. Like that is impressive to happen in. And looking at this, that was in the vault final. Yeah, in the vault. Like that was. I mean, they'd gone 100 years without winning anything. And then, like in Tokyo, we had a gold medal in weightlifting, and now we have another one in the vault. Like that was just pretty cool to see too. So, just adding on everything else, like it's kind of an amazing story. I mean,
He's going to be up there with Manny Pacquiao as a national hero if you think about it.
Absolutely. I mean, that's an amazing event to win. I agree with you, Abigail.
And sports are
So-
such a huge thing for them over there. I mean, think about how amazingly celebrated Pacquiao is over there,
Mhm.
and he can win elected official because of it. So it's definitely interesting. These other
Yeah.
countries. One thing we haven't really talked about is the wage disparity. Each country offers different amounts of monies per each sport and each individual different events that they're doing, and it's wild to see the disparity of like China pays their athletes like 10 times what we pay ours, for things. And it's just interesting to see how much money countries pour into this and how it really varies from country to country in a surprisingly way, because we're used to such regulated sports where everybody has the same pool of money and same stuff to pull from. And it's just interesting in the Olympics where it's just such a wide variety of what attracts people into the sport, doing it for obviously the country, but the money's got to help, so
I think that explains why China's had such a real renaissance in recent years, right? It's you've been seeing it in a lot of different sports. Like you're seeing it in swimming a lot, the last two Olympics, and here, and you see them doing decently in basketball. I mean, I can't really speak to this year, but like I think there's something to that. I think the funding is just really good for athletics over there at this point. So
yeah, no, I
yeah,
mean, right now they are right up there, tied with us for 21 golds each. We have more total medals, but we're also, I believe, in more total events, right? And
yeah.
so
But that's kind of making your point for you. Like you're just kind of repeating your earlier point. It's like the total medals is a function of what the infrastructure is for a country's ability to field athletes, right?
right.
So
But China is
it's
able to field a lot. So I mean, so
yeah,
those two are gonna, be able to push it up there. But I'm
mhm.
really impressed with Canada there. They're at number 11 on the total medal count with 17. That's,
That's a huge year.
yeah,
Give
that's a
it up for
huge haul
Canada, y'all. Like
for the week, one. That's really good.
yeah,
And so I mean, the only countries that are above them are Germany, Netherlands, Italy, Japan, the Republic of Korea, Great Britain, Australia, and the top three are France, the home country, China, and then we're the number one right now in the U.S. So really shocking number of silvers the U.S. have won. That's actually why their numbers are so large. They already have 30 silver medals, where the next highest country is China, I believe, with 18. So I mean, that's a
hmm
pretty big disparity there.
yeah,
So it's just interesting to see how the money and how the different teams field it, and how it pans out, right?
yep.
But Janae, I want to give you an opportunity to talk about any other sport or any other topic you wanted to talk about before we let you go.
I don't think I have anything else. I think I've talked enough about things that I don't really know much about. It's a little bit different talking about the summer sports for me, because I definitely know more obviously about like hockey and the winter sports, but no, the Olympics are such a fun time because you kind of see those sports that, like I said, you only watch once every 4 years. So but yeah, other than like the big, like basketball and things like that, like a lot of the smaller sports I don't really watch except for at the Olympics, like the swimming and the gymnastics and stuff like that. So it's fun to watch it. It's fun, like I believe it was Anna said, to see everybody just kind of come together and kind of forget about everything else that's going on in the world for a little bit, and just focus on the Olympics for a couple of weeks. And yeah, it's been really fun. And like you said, Canada having a very good very, very good Olympic year. So love to see it. I always look at it as like we have 10% of the amount of people that the United States does. So if
Right.
we have like a quarter of the medals, that's pretty good in my
Yeah.
book. That's how I look at it.
Yeah. And you're doing even better than that. So, and some stuff. So, I think you guys have done really well. So it's been fun, and I appreciate you giving your perspective because I'm sure your broadcast is vastly different than ours is. So
Yeah.
I think what company airs it for you guys? Because we're NBC obviously here in the United States.
Yeah, so we have CBC, which is the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. They air like everything for free for everybody. So you can either watch it live on your TV, or they have CBC Gem is the app, which you can just like log on. You get to make a free account, and then you can log on and you can watch it either live, or they have everything available for replay as well on demand. So you can do it that way. And then they also show a bunch of the events on Sportsnet and TSN. Like both Sportsnet and TSN have like 5 or 6 different channels each, so they kind of show different events on all different channels so that you can flick around and find what you want. But yeah, it's cool that they make it free for everybody because everybody wants to watch it. So all you essentially need is an internet connection, and then you can just log on for free and watch it. I do sometimes I just flip over to the American broadcast just for shits and giggles because it is so different, and it's funny to see, like, you kind of alluded to it, how kind of biased it is, but it's funny to like see that perspective of like it's just totally different because on the Canadian channels they kind of they focus a lot on the Canadians, obviously rightfully so for the Canadian audience, but they do like go into background on a lot of the different athletes from a lot of the different countries, whereas the American channel I find is just like America, America, America. Like that's basically what they're doing. So it's funny to get the different perspectives, but I would say if you want to hear about the other countries, this is definitely better to listen on the Canadian channel.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely really interesting to hear the perspective for sure, and to see you guys doing well up there. I think it's an exciting thing. I love when other countries, start to surprise people, and it's obviously we root for Team USA here, but I love some of those other stories, and yeah.
I mean, to be fair too, they're talking about Americans on your guys' channels because you guys have so many athletes in these Olympics, right? So
Yeah.
it's like there's somebody winning a gold medal every 2 minutes, it seems like. So they kind of have to cover that first and foremost ahead of everything else.
Yeah. But I do love that, as you were saying, especially with YouTube TV, I'm able to watch all these other ones. So like on the NBC channel right now, it's all like USA stuff, but like on some of these other alternate broadcasts, you do get to see some of the other stuff too. And obviously, if Team USA isn't making, medal games, they're still showing them, which is good. But everyone should definitely go follow Janaea and Janaea Talks Caps. Also, I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, but if you weren't tuning in, go check out the Power Play Point podcast. The last 2 episodes, Star, Gil, and Janaea, they broke down. On one episode, they broke down the free agency and stuff like that. And I thought that was really interesting. But they also, I think that you give a whole view of the summer between both shows, so they should definitely check out both parts. And I think some interesting and exciting stuff coming forward for the Capitals fans, and yeah, a lot of great young players coming up in the systems, and we have to give it a little bit of time still, but they were able to reload faster than I had expected. I'll be interested to see if TJ Oshie plays next year. We sort of all assume that he's not going to, which is tough since we're all big TJ fans. But it'll be interesting to see if Ovechkin can break this record in the next 2 years here. That's obviously what we're looking at. And yeah, we'll definitely talk more about that in October. But Janae, I hope you have a great rest of the summer, and we'll talk to you in a couple of weeks.
Yes, thank you very much for having me on. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's definitely. Have a great one.
Janaea, hang on. I want to make mention here because I've been a fan of the Canadian athletes too. And we haven't mentioned this yet, but between and the Canadian Rugby Sevens women's team came back from the dead and won the silver medal.
Yeah.
In their division. Between them, the resilience of the women's soccer team, Summer McIntosh, well, they're just reteaching us what we all learned from Alanis Morissette Sarah McLachlan and Alana Miles. Canadian women rock.
Yeah, I like it.
This
So,
is true. I can't believe we forgot their rugby. Jeez. What kind
yeah.
of a Canadian am I? That was an amazing story.
Yeah. No, it's pretty impressive. It's interesting. Rugby is such an interesting sport. It's so much like football, but so different at the same time. But it's always a very exciting sport, and it's something that I feel like people in the U.S. don't really know much about, but like on an international stage, it's such a popular thing. So it's always interesting to see how they're able to put it all together. But that was an interesting story for the Canadians for sure. So.
Didn't USA get bronze as well?
Yes.
right?
And
Yeah.
that was just as crazy. Literally won the medal in the dying seconds of that game.
For both of our countries' first rugby sevens medal at the Olympics, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. All right. Well, Janelle, I'll let you head on and watch some more of the sports, and I hope that you have a good next couple of weeks, and we'll definitely have to get you back on when hockey talk starts again.
Yes, sounds great. Okay,
All right.
thank you guys.
Have a good
All right.
one.
Night, Janelle.
Bye,
Good
Janelle.
night.
All right, Gil. I think it's time that we talk a little bit of basketball. We are dominating in the 5-on-5. We suck at 3-on-3 basketball. So I'll ask Davey real quickly. Maybe he doesn't know. But
I'm back.
the 3-on-3. Why can't NBA players play on the 3-on-3 tournament?
I have no idea. I have been asking around about like how do you select people for 3-on-3? I do not know.
The
It
sport
seems like
seems
it's
so
just
vastly different. It's like half court basketball. It's very different.
well, that's why I like it. It's all half court. It's a very interesting game. But I think the problem is if you did include NBA athletes in 3-on-3, it would be too easy. They would never lose.
Yeah, can you have like three 7-footers just swatting at everything?
just-
Like, what are you gonna
no
do?
way.
Like,
So I
Yeah.
get it. I think I get it.
yeah, I have to find out why why we don't send them from the NBA. But it's been pretty dominant for Team USA and both the men's and women's 5-on-5 basketball, especially the men's. They've been sitting out a lot of big stars throughout the first couple of games in an interesting rotation. But Gil, what are some of your thoughts on basketball so far?
Well, so quick observations that if you're not used to watching international basketball, that probably the casual fan should know, the international playing surface is smaller. We make a big, of course, we talk about hockey a lot, of course, and the international surface there is bigger. Well, the international basketball court is actually smaller, not by much, but enough to make a difference. A lot less, room, not much, square footage difference, but enough to make a difference in that you got bigger bodies, then they take up more room on a smaller surface. And there you go.
It's interesting you say that
Also,
because I did notice people stepping out of bounds more often than I feel like I
yeah.
normally do on an NBA stage. So, yeah.
Also, goaltending is interesting how they handle that. Goaltending is there's no once you shoot the ball and it makes it to the rim, there's no such thing as goaltending. You are allowed to knock it off the rim.
Hmm.
Not so in the NBA, but yes, in the FIBA, in any
Mhm.
sanctioned game internationally. So you might have noticed that and thought, wait a minute, shouldn't that have been goaltending? Shouldn't that have been a foul? Not in the international game. So just two things to look out for as you continue watching the tournament. USA, of course, dominating both sides, men's and women's. I'll say the women's have probably had maybe a slightly tougher time than they thought they would, but still playing very well and dominating overall. Let's summarize the men here. Grant Hill, former Detroit Piston great, took the job of general manager and helped, basically is the architect of the team, worked with Steve Kerr, who's the coach of the Golden State Warriors, of course, and build the team. And Steve Kerr, so he's going to do the cooking during the matches. And he admitted flat out, it's not easy when you've got, 12 of the best players in the whole league, in the whole world, and you got to sub them in, them out. I'll say LeBron James has embraced and taken over the role as captain with aplomb. He has grabbed this with both hands and run with it. It's almost like he's looking Father Time in the clock and saying, all right, you know what? This is probably the last great thing I'm going to do on a basketball court, besides win another NBA title. Kevin Durant, too. Kevin Durant looks like he has, well, not been swimming in the Seine, but maybe some sort of magical water, magical fountain, because he looks like he looks and he's playing like he's 15 years younger. He's been dominant, and he's coming off the bench. He's not even starting. So between those two guys, most games that's been all they've needed. But they also have role players like Derek White who do all the little things that they need to do. So overall, it's a you you don't want to say you don't want to act surprised that it's so well balanced a team, but it is. It's a very well balanced team.
I think it's
They're
honestly constructed better than the last two Olympic teams. Like I felt like, especially from the big man rotation perspective, I felt we were lacking in some of the last couple Olympics. From the center position, I thought was not as because we have some dominant centers in the league, and we weren't sending them. And I just think that AD playing well, and Joel Embiid, and obviously the storylines with the French, booing him, so I think that they seem to have good depth at all the positions, which is needed, especially because there's a lot of games in a short period of time.
and it's easy with a bunch of stars like that, with all-star teams. It's easy to let egos get in the way. That's not happening. That's not happening at all. And Dwayne Wade, during one of the comments, he's doing the analytics during the game, um, along with the play-by-play, said something to the effect, during one of the games. So it's great that they're kind of coming together, realizing, okay, I've got a role to play, and I'm going to keep it at that. And if I got to come out, I got to come out. And basically, they have two 5-man units they can roll out there, which is probably their greatest advantage. Not many, you know, not any. Not really any of the other teams have even more than, say, 3 or 4 guys that can do that, or even come close to that. Well, France has Wembayana and Rudy Gobert, of course. They're an outside shot for a medal. Germany is probably going to be their toughest test. I think Dennis Schroeder is a very underrated player, on both sides of the ball. He's going to cause them fits, but overall, it should be. I'm not going to say it's a cakewalk, but it's going to be another dominant performance for the U.S. I think, at least on the men's side. Now, for the women, so far you've got 2 names dominating: Asia Wilson, of course, the reigning WNBA MVP, and Breanna Stewart. And backing them up, of course, is the 3-point marvel named Sabrina Ionescu. But they've got even deeper talent than that. Jackie Young just had a breakout game against Germany this past game. So you've got depth you probably never even heard of. If you haven't, then you ought to be watching these ladies, because there's layers and layers of talent there. They've been dominating, and maybe not to the extent of the men, but they're coming out and finishing their games very well. I love their chances for a medal.
The women also have such a bright future. I think about how many
Yes,
great players got snubbed from this Olympics team that are on the rise. There's 3 or 4 that are rookies or second-year talent that could have easily made this team and didn't. And that team actually beat
yes.
Team USA in the WNBA All-Star game. So I found that really fascinating. So it'll be interesting to see where it goes from here. And they had a tough decision on who to pick this year. It might even be tougher in 4, because it's going to be just such a logjam there. But I'm excited for the women's side of the sport, and they're going to both teams are going to start to play in the knockout stage pretty soon. USA plays Brazil on USA tomorrow at 3:30 p.m. In a knockout match, and I'm trying to remember who the women play.
I think that was the women, or no, oh no, you're right, That was yeah, that's the men. So the women play Nigeria
okay,
on Wednesday
got it. That makes sense.
in their quarterfinal knockout stage match. Um, so Team Belgium also made the knockout round. I mentioned them because there are, well, for us DMVers, there is a current Mystic, Julie Van Loo, who's a starter for them, and a former Mystic who helped them to the 2019 championship, Emma Miesemann, also on their starting roster. So if those names sound familiar, they should. They're regulars on the Belgian team. Yep, there they are, the 2019 champions. And so Miesemann was a very big part in that run. So yeah, they play Spain in their first round, for quarterfinal round matchup on the same day. I think they got a good chance of getting past them, so that would put them in the semifinal. They got a decent chance for a medal. I don't know if they'll get past Germany or France, but I think they got an outside shot for a medal. But definitely U.S. all the way on both counts.
For sure. Any other sports that were sort of interesting to you that we haven't talked about yet that we wanted to get in there before? I know Davey has a couple of sports he's going to talk about. I'm going to bring in Champ in a few minutes to talk about wrestling, but wasn't sure if there was any other things that that you were interested to talk about.
Nothing that I'm overly familiar with. Just out of sheer morbid curiosity, I checked out as much of the field hockey as I could. I'm trying to understand the nuances of the game. Most of it I understand, but some of it I don't. And if you're a first timer and you're expecting it to be a lot like ice hockey, it ain't.
Hmm.
And I'll just leave it at that. Rugby sevens, as I said, I think if they really, especially a women's league, because our Eagles, that's what the name of the team, they can play, and there's a lot of talent around the world, as was proven, especially in Australia and New Zealand and Canada. If they were to start a professional rugby sevens league, and there may well be one in existence, but if they were to market the hell out of that, I think a lot of people would be into that. It's compact. It doesn't take very long to play. It's constant action, even more action than American football. They don't stop every 30 seconds. It's keeps on going, and it's nice, and it's doesn't take very long. I think it's like 7 or 8 minutes per half, and it's very interesting the way they play. It's very physical, and it just captures your attention. You can't take your eyes off it. So if they were, the right marketing were to get behind something like that, I think that would really catch on here.
Yeah, Smartacus has said that he watches every Olympics and still doesn't understand handball. And
Yeah, that's another one.
But he also doesn't know how we don't have a reasonably good team for that. And then he said that they tried Gil with respect to the rugby sevens, but it's not really caught on much, which is interesting.
Well, I think it will, now that they've seen, what our ladies did, and what how exciting it can be and how competitive it can be. I think if you give it another chance, I think it'll catch on.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Antonio agrees with you. So very cool. So I'll ask you this: what's the plans for the Power Play Point podcast? You guys going to come back in with the preseason, or what's your next steps on the show?
Well, I like to extend the summer vacay as much as possible. Barring any earth-shattering announcement between now and opening night, we're probably going to have really not much to do. I think we're going to between, so that first week we usually cover a week's worth of games per episode. I think that first week, that first game is October the 13th, is on a Friday, a Thursday, or a Friday, I think. So a first episode of the season is probably only cover just that one game. So we're, as we always do, we're going to use that as something of a dress rehearsal, Anna and I, and also something of a season preview. But that's why I wanted to go into a deep dive on all of the off-season moves. And just going through Twitter, I think a lot of fans from other teams have absolutely no idea what direction the Caps are going in. And so I think I'm very optimistic that I think this year's Capitals team is going to catch a lot of teams by surprise and be a lot better than what other fan bases, other groups think they're going to do this year.
Yeah. I was looking at when the preseason games are. So the first preseason game is on Sunday, September 22nd, and the last one is on Saturday, October 5th. So then they'll start the following week after that. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. So they don't play their actual first real game until 1 week later on the 12th, it seems.
Yeah, that's kind of weird. The scheduling gurus are, gotten into their habitual drug habit again. So I don't know. I've failed to stop trying to get an explanation as to why that is. But yeah, it's another late start for the Caps, but that's fine. Let the other teams get tired for the week, and maybe we'll catch them off guard. But as far as short-term plans for the show, we're going to do our usual Hockey Fights Cancer. I'm going to find out which try like heck to find out which when is the Caps Hockey Fights Cancer Night. Would like to do a little something for that. Maybe not a meetup, but something special to shine a light on that. That's of course something very special for Anna and C4 and I. And of course, anybody that's been affected by cancer. So I'm going to try to do a little something like that. But we'll have our usual grind cover, the week's worth of games per episode, all the way up to what's hopefully going to be a long playoff run.
Yeah, for sure. But if people aren't following, definitely go check out the Power Play Point podcast. I just put the links in chat. You can follow him on Twitter or X, the Blue Liner 98. Can also find them on the Power Play Point podcast Facebook group. It's a good place to talk hockey there. And you obviously check out their podcast on our podcast partners button as well. Excited, obviously, to bring it back in. So people don't know, obviously, in the month of September, we will start with our football talk, and we will mention a little bit about how the Capitals are doing. But then once the Capital regular season starts for real, we'll switch that back to the 9 o'clock spot as well. So, but Gil, it's been so much fun breaking down a bunch of other sports with you. Thank you for doing this, and let me know. You're obviously welcome to come back next week if you have more sports you want to talk about with this upcoming week as well. So the door is always open for you, and I appreciate you and your tiny beret. And I hope that you have a great week.
Monsieur Rabi, bonsoir and merci beaucoup.
I appreciate it. So,
Bon voyage,
all right.
shall I say?
Yeah, bon voyage.
Night, guys. Thanks for
I
having
see
me
it.
on.
Yes, it's a lot of fun. Thank you.
All right, cool. Thanks.
Take it easy.
So I guess says thanks for your style and your insights tonight, Gil. I like it. Style and insights. It's that's what Gil's
The
doing.
only thing it was missing was like a baguette.
Yes, exactly. Especially for the sandwich guy. I needed to
I mean, it was just it was like I've said that's the only thing he missed was missing there. The whole, for sure.
welcome on in, champ. We're gonna bring
Thank
him, and we're gonna talk a couple of different sports. I do want to let Davey talk about some of the other sports real quick, and then we'll get into the wrestling, and then we'll talk a little bit of SummerSlam before we get out of here, and maybe just a quick update on the standings on the DC sports. But Davey, before I don't know if did you watch any of the wrestling, or are you?
When you say wrestling, you mean Olympic wrestling?
Yes.
Okay, I haven't caught up on that yet.
Yes. Okay, that's fine. So we'll have you talk about the other sports first, and then I can even let you go, and then we'll have Champ talk about the wrestling, and we'll segue
Okay.
into the wrestling.
Well,
Yeah.
before we get into anything out of the ordinary, we need to talk about Noah Lyles' amazing win on the
Mm-hmm.
100 meters. That is one of the biggest wins that we've seen in a long time, and it didn't even look like he had it like when it happened because there's a photo finish. It was so close. It was like 0.005 seconds. And I didn't actually think he won. I thought Thompson, I think the fellow for Jamaica had won that race. That was an amazing scenario because
So did the commentators, and I guess I have a question for you. Is the commentators announced it incorrectly at first, and then went silent for a good amount of time, and they got very ridiculed for this, and online specifically. And I didn't get to watch it live. I've obviously seen the reaction to it. But what are your thoughts? I mean, is it fair that they get so ambassador? Should they have corrected it quicker, or what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I didn't really pay attention to that part. I was just kind of looking at the reactions. Like you were seeing Noah and you were seeing Thompson just kind of looking at the screen, like they didn't know, they couldn't tell. The Noah's mom in the stands wasn't sure either, and it was just there's so much drama just looking at that. I wasn't even paying attention to what they were saying at the time. It was just like it just it was tense because like you just didn't know. Like it was like well maybe he didn't. Maybe the Jamaican guy didn't win the thing, or maybe the other person, like Smarticus said, maybe Noah was third. I mean, he was over in lane 6, I think it was. So like, it was crazy. Like he didn't look like he was gonna win. Like after like 7 seconds of the race,
he was in third place or farther back for almost the entire race, except for the final
last charge.
Yeah,
right? That last charge, and I was wondering, well, what do they use to measure the where your measure your win? Is it the head? Is it the nose? It's the torso. It's here. It's like kind of like the clavicle. They said, like around here.
got it.
So that lean was the difference between him winning and losing, and even at that, it was only a 0.005 second difference.
Yeah.
I mean, you've never seen anything like it. I mean, you didn't even see. I mean, you see stuff like that in horse racing, you think it's crazy, but to see it in the Olympics is just unbelievable. And the thing of it is, like Noah Lyles has a long history of doing well in the 200. So the big story going in was like, is he going to be able to do the double and do the 100 and 200? Well, I mean, to have the hardest part of it out of the way, he did very well in the heats today in the 200 as well. Did what he had to do. So we'll see that final in a little bit. I mean, it's mesmerizing. It's a mesmerizing story. I'm sorry, Robbie. Did you have another question? I'm sorry, I didn't.
No. I was just. It is kind of interesting, the coverage of it and the moment and just the heartbreak, for the guy who thought he won it, and just, that's it.
Yeah.
He was winning the whole entire race up until that point, pretty much. So
it was crazy. It's interesting. They did show some of the press conference today, during NBC coverage. Well, tonight, whatever. It's tonight over there, but it's today over here. But and then they were and Noah actually admitted, like, when I was looking through that, I thought Big Dog over here when he thought Thompson won initially. He didn't even think he won. That's how crazy. Yeah. That's how close that was. So, just incredible stuff. And we'll see what happens tomorrow. The heats don't really tell you how fast he's gonna go, but it's actually kind of tough to do that because, like, a race like that's gonna take a lot of you. You're gonna be pretty sore next day. He even said it after the 200 heat today. Like, he was kind of sore going in, but he kind of warmed himself into it and made it happen, as you would expect. And it's just amazing stuff. There's so much more to break down from track and field. I don't think we have enough time to get into it tonight, but track has, in only like 4 days, I've had so many great moments already. It's just been unbelievable. Like, from the people who are winning in like shot put and the high jump and things like that, the steeplechase heats, like some controversy in there a little bit too, which I alluded to earlier. It's not an obscure sport at all. Track and field is the single biggest thing in the Olympics. In fact, the 100 meters is probably the biggest, most popular event in the whole thing, right? It's when you think Olympics, isn't that the first thing you think of anyway? Like you think of like track and like the
Yeah,
jumping and then
it's weird that I think historically, yes, but for some reason, just because of how Team USA is done, now somehow I think of gymnastics as my first sport, which is like an interesting transition, in time. Because I think that when I was a kid, I definitely would have agreed with you, but now, just with the dominance of gymnastics, now for some reason, that's what I
well,
equate Summer Olympics with. It's
well,
interesting.
maybe that's the NBC kind of presentation,
Yeah,
kind of
yes, that may have an
molding your
effect.
thought of that. But
Right.
really, much like soccer would be globally around the world, the 100 meters is like the biggest thing in the Olympics. It still is after all this time. And if you remember, so this is the first American win in the 100 meters since 2004. Well, the guy who was winning it in the years in between was Usain Bolt. Like he was amazing. He's just like he's a legend. Like he's incredible. So just to give you an idea how much time that's been, like he had been the Olympics for like several Olympics. Like he was so good, set some world records. Like he was such a great guy, such a fun person to watch, right? Um,
It's
yeah,
Marcus
and
the
Marcus is
chat.
right. Justin Gatlin was the one that won in 2004. So just that is an amazing moment for Team USA because it's been a long time. Jamaica has been such a powerhouse
They
at
always
track
are.
events.
I have to say, when I went in college, they have the Penn Relays that they do on our
Hmm.
campus. It was like probably the biggest track, event, at least in the East Coast every year. And it was so cool to watch, US versus the world, and there was some events, for that, and just the dominance, the passion, and it's just so cool to see that building rocking, and everyone has flags, and it's not the Olympics, but it's the closest I've ever been to in a similar sort of event, especially for running. And it's just so cool to see the passion that people have for it. Just speak to what you were saying, about
Yeah.
how popular it is. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And that field was phenomenal for that 100. Like you had you had the defending champion from last year in the final round or in the final. And it was quite an upset at the time. Like, the I'm sorry I don't have his name, but the guy from Italy who had won the gold in the 100 meters last time was that was a big story in and of itself. And so he was trying to defend, but he was kind of in the outer lanes. He wasn't as he didn't have as fast a qualifying heat. So I was actually a little surprised that Lyles was not the favorite to win, but as I started reading it, but the numbers actually made a lot of sense. Like Thompson in the middle lanes was probably going to be the one that most people would have expected to win. So to come from that and to win and then win so close, it was amazing stuff. And so I mean, I cannot wait for the 200 tomorrow, whenever that comes around. And on the women's side, same stuff. Like you got some great athletes. Like it's gonna be some really really good theater for everybody. Yeah, I don't want to keep Champ idle too long, but Chad, did you see that race? Like, did you see these races? Like, it's incredible stuff.
I did not. I've been paying mostly attention to the wrestling, and
Okay.
I've seen some of the other random sports like badminton and skeet shooting and stuff like that. But I do got to give a shout out to Scotty Scheffler, who's a two-time Masters champion who won the
Mm-hmm.
gold medal for the United States in golf. So
Yeah.
Scotty Scheffler, man, he's got himself a Hall of Fame career, having two Masters, two green jackets, and now he can add a gold medal to two green jackets, as well as two Players Championships, which is also become the fifth major for PGA Tour golf. So this man has already carved out a really great career early on in his career. He's only been on the PGA Tour 4 years, and the man has already gotten 4 major championship wins as well as a gold medal. That's incredible. Like Tiger Woods, one of the greatest golfers of all time, doesn't even have that. He has multiple majors but doesn't have a gold medal.
Well,
That's
they didn't have golf back then, though. To be fair,
Very
like
true.
they didn't start until 2016. So
True. Very true.
62 on the final round. What a spectacular final round!
Course record, by the way. Record, by the way.
Amazing. Like that's incredible stuff. It is juxtaposed with Rahm's epic meltdown on the back nine, but a 62 is a 62. That is an amazing performance. I mean, that's just what Scheffler does. He's always hanging around. Like, you know, if you're the final round is within 5 strokes of you, you got to watch out because Scheffler's got that ability to close a tournament. He's always been so good, especially like with
it's
that.
So crazy. It's so crazy with Scheffler because I don't know if you ever watched Scheffler when he hits a shot, his feet shuffle. They never sit still. They shuffle.
Yeah.
But yeah, he still hits very good shots with his feet shuffling because I play golf. I haven't played golf in over a decade, but one of the things I learned when playing golf is that you keep your feet set and your hips power through the shot. But no, Scheffler's hips power through, but his feet shuffle, yet somehow he hits really good shots. And it's like crazy to me to think that, wow, you know, keeping your feet not set is it might be a recipe for success for people who play this game of golf. But no, I just found that to be absolutely incredible that, you know, Scheffler has won 2 green jackets and now has a gold medal. I just thought that was incredible. And I love the fact that he got so emotional at the podium when they did the national anthem, because, you know, it's an overwhelming thing. You've won 2 green jackets, you won 2 Players Championships, you won the Arnold Palmer Invitational, but nothing compares to representing your country and winning a gold medal for your country. That's overwhelming. I thought that was really, really awesome. So I'm really happy for Scheffler. He had his family there, and it was really awesome. Really, really awesome.
It really says a lot about the Olympics that you don't really play for that much money. And in fact, it's a fairly tiny amount compared to whatever you're making on the typical PGA Tour event, a major live tour event. Like, the amount of money is just so small compared to these purses you'll get if you win a major event in professional golf, you know? And to think that there's this much passion and this much commitment and this much emotion attached when you win or when you lose, it really says a lot about everything you just said, like representing your country and what it means. And then the weight of losing an event like that, or in the case of Rahm, not even medaling, which is nuts. Like, you can't even get a medal out of that. It's just a wild time. I do want to give a shout out to Tommy Fleetwood too, just like sidebar. Like, he had a very nice round. Like, he had a very nice, like, 4 rounds actually. And then Matsuyama too.
Matsuyama got the bronze.
Yeah,
bronze
medal for Matsuyama. Yeah, he was solid.
He was only 2 shots back at the end. He had bronze, and Fleetwood got silver.
Yep. You talk about somebody that was won a green jacket before too, like in Matsuyama, right? So like it's
yes, that's right.
The experience. Yeah.
Matsuyama has a green jacket as well, so now he has a green jacket and a bronze medal.
That's sweet. That's pretty sweet. Great. You know, whoever organized the golf in Paris, that course was fantastic. Like, it was a really cool course. It was really challenging.
I really hope they put that course on EA Sports PGA Tour Golf so I can play it on my Xbox, because I want to see how it plays, because it looks like it plays pretty fun. It looks like it's a pretty fun course to play.
I echo all that. For real.
Yeah, people might not know this, but Champ sometimes plays PGA Golf on his channel, and he does highlights on his TikTok, which are kind of fun. He's gotten some pretty cool eagles and stuff like that. So, shout out to Champ's other channels and his love of golf. So, you know, people know him as the wrestling guy. So it's cool that you can find out more information about golf too. So I appreciate that. All right, Davey, before we let you go, I just want to let you give a speed round, a couple other events that you were talking about, and then we can always talk more about some of them next week as well.
Holy cow, there's so many great big events, so many events happening right now. So let's get into I really want to get everything here. So let's just get the quick stuff out of the way. So surfing, which took place 10,000 miles away from Paris. It wasn't anywhere near France. It's in French Polynesia, aka Tahiti. Beautiful waves down there, but it's weird. It's hilarious that they would consider that part of the Olympics. It's like, it's not even the same hemisphere. Like, what are we doing here? But it wasn't.
But yet they forced them to swim in the Seine, though. Like, they're not, like, so it's like, it's wild.
It's hysterical. Why didn't they send the open water swimmers to French Polynesia? Like, that would have been much better. Like, ridiculous. But Gabriel Medina, You know, shout out to my namesake, my
Right, there
last
you go.
namesake anyway. You know, man, he's been clutch. It's been great to see him do the thing, for Brazil. So big time props there. And some juice on the women's side, although I can't really speak to specific names at the moment. But everybody knows that photo of Gabriel Medina. It was like that looked like he was just floating there with a surfboard.
Yeah, it looks like Photoshop. Yeah, it's just
It
it's
does.
crazy.
It's
Yeah,
hard to tell if that's real, but it was a
yeah,
cool photo.
yeah.
Let me see if I have it. I think I do. Let me just jump in on this. Okay, really quickly. I'll just really quickly throw this up here. This, right? This was that's nuts. It doesn't even look real, like you said, Robbie. So
I have to ask both of you a question. I have to ask
Uh-huh.
both of you a question. Did y'all watch any of the kayak slalom event that went on?
I did. It was so fun.
What
It was.
the hell was that?
I'm watching
like-
kayak cross right now on TV, which is interesting.
It's like
The
skiing, but with
the
water.
kayak slalom was absolutely wild. But you know what
Yeah.
else was really wild? The table tennis final
Mhm.
and the badminton final.
Oh yeah.
The
Feel free to break
badminton
that
final
down.
was crazy.
Yeah. I did not see the badminton final, but I kind of want to because I heard a lot about it. That seems really cool.
I watched some of it earlier, but then I
Mm-hmm.
switched and started watching Raw live. Not really live because it's the Raw after the SummerSlam, and I wanted to see what was going to happen. So I didn't see who won the final, but that was crazy. I was sitting there looking like, what in the hell am I watching? But that was pretty fun. I was watching the water polo earlier with Team USA absolutely
Mhm.
killing whoever they was playing. They was absolutely killing them.
Yeah, there was the Czech Republic. Yeah, they were killing them.
They were
Certainly in the first half. They were killing. They did start to come back though in the second half though. I did see them start to come back, but I think.
And I'm sad that Janai is not here to celebrate the fact that Team Canada absolutely smoked Team USA in beach volleyball for the women, 2-0. Though the second set was absolutely just out of control. With it going back and forth before Canada absolutely put it away to advance to the next round in that one. But that was actually pretty fun to watch. Team Canada, like the one girl that was on there, she just was right at the net, just blocking everything that was coming through and everything like that. It was really fun to watch.
Yeah, that's a big one for Canada. Holy cow! Like, what a year for Canada altogether. Like, they're just crushing it this year. Like, they're doing such big things in so many sports. Yeah, that's a huge. You're right. That's a huge one. Let me bring up a couple more. So we did surfing. We talked about. I'm glad you brought up the canoeing because like that was really fun. I saw some mountain biking. Don't have a lot to comment on, but it looked like a lot of fun.
The cycling one was really cool because it was the hometown guy that won for the men, but an American won on the women's side.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet. You know, I guess that British guy didn't win then. I mean, he was a big. Unless I don't know which cycle event we're talking about, but there were a bunch of them. I mean, there's a lot of great cycling events in the Olympics. You know, there's the ones that are
the French guy who won on the cycling gold medal. He won. He was like a minute ahead of everybody.
Wow.
Like, to the point that he got a flat tire towards the end and had to wait for a replacement bike and still had enough time to get a replacement bike and still win.
Wow.
Like,
oh my
how does that happen? Like, he was waiting for a replacement bike and still had enough distance from the field to wait for a replacement bike. He was rushing people like, hey, give me a replacement bike. My tire's flat. Give me a bike. Gets the bike, gets on his way, and still wins.
That's spectacular.
It's crazy. I didn't see it live. I saw the clip of it online, and I was like, "There's just no way. There's just no way." And this man had that much distance on everybody that he had to wait for a replacement bike, which took about 10 to 15 seconds for them to finally get the bike to him, for him to get on and get ahead of steam to get back on track and still win by over a minute.
That is unbelievable. That's domination right there. Like that is next level. Like
crazy.
It's incredible stuff. Because in NASCAR, like you lose 10 seconds, it's like you're gonna be in last place. You know what I mean? So like that's just wild. That can happen. You know. So I'm gonna do one more.
Crazy because Katie Ledecky could have probably hung out for 10 seconds, in the middle of a thing and then started again and still won her. So.
I think 10 seconds is a bit though, and
I don't know.
swimming 10
Didn't she
seconds.
win it by 10
I
seconds?
think
Something like that. So
I
yeah.
think 10 seconds would have pushed it been pretty close, but
Yeah.
you're right. It maybe 9 seconds. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're way ahead. You're way ahead. But let me do one more. The world turns its attention next week to the most anticipated event of the Olympics so far, breaking. We want to see
Oh,
what
yeah.
happens. Who will win the breaking competition? Breakdancing is so much fun. I'm very excited to see who wins.
I have
I
no
cannot
idea
tell
how you
who the
score
favorite is.
this. How do you score breakdancing? I don't even understand.
I don't know. We're gonna all learn this
you know
together.
what? You know what? I know I'm mostly on here for Olympic wrestling, but I want to watch that because I want to see how they go. How do they score
Absolutely.
that, and how do they figure out who wins? I want to know.
Absolutely. I'm all in. I'm gonna go look for it on Peacock or Peacock 2 or whatever app it's on.
Peacock 27. Yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna be
But,
this gonna be great. I'll let you know how it goes next week.
exactly. Stay tuned. That's our cliffhanger. But no, that's awesome. I do want to get into some wrestling before it gets too late. But Davey, this has been so much fun. I really appreciate you giving me so much time tonight and being the co-host. And we can definitely talk more of the other sports next week. I don't think Janaea and Anna aren't going to be able to come back next week, but we are going to have C4, who's another big fan of track and field and swimming competitions and stuff like that. Another member of our hockey podcast, so she will be back to help break stuff down next week as well. So we'll have a lot more stuff. But David, do you have any podcasts or shows you're doing this week?
I want you all to be. Well, I hope you all can be. I don't want to say I want you because that sounds like I'm forcing you. But
Yeah.
I hope you all can make it to the Sandwich Show on Wednesday night at 8 o'clock Eastern time because we're gonna have an amazing pair of people joining us for what could be a really good trivia contest, which could be like just right up there with any Olympic events. It's gonna be really intense, folks. Like this is gonna be amazing stuff. But our good friends Kevin and B Flat from Kevin's Cafe Live are joining in on Wednesday. That's gonna be a good show. Those folks are so much
They
fun.
are
They're really
great.
talented people.
Yeah, they're great
Yeah.
people. So that's awesome.
So see it on my channel, Sandwich Show. Davey's eating sandwich. On
just dreaming is trying to chat. Another fellow streamer here on Twitch. Welcome on in. That's somebody you got to get on your show at some point as well. She is awesome.
Cosign.
And
Yeah.
but yeah, no, that's a great. So Wednesday, definitely check Davey out, and hopefully we'll get Davey back next Monday to recap part 2 of the Olympics, and hopefully gold in basketball and some of these other sports.
Robbie, hopefully they're killing everybody.
I know.
I mean,
I like to underplay it just for comedic value. But it is pretty wild that but especially because I feel like the competition has improved comparatively to some of the previous years, just in the number of NBA players that are playing for teams.
The problem with that is that there are a lot of great NBA players playing for other countries, but there are not enough of them on a given team. So like even Giannis has like nobody next to him, so like there's not much challenge because literally Giannis is the only like professional level player on his own team. So it's just a different ballgame, don't you think?
Yeah, for sure. It is. They should save some of those players for 3v3, clearly.
I will. That's pretty funny. The one thing I would say is I did think that Spain would be much tougher than they were, and they're not saying that they're bad, but it's just certainly not the level I was thinking it was going to be going in. So maybe there's definitely some depth on some of the other teams, but I mean between that and the fact that USA's really got their they really do have their chemistry down, which is kind of remarkable. I think you got to give Kerr a lot of credit there, but I don't want to get too much into that because you already covered that with Gil earlier. But yeah, I mean. I think only to a point can you really criticize the competition. I think U.S. has just been really, really good this year,
Yeah, sounds good. Well, Davey, I appreciate your insights on so many different sports and being able to talk and our friendship over these last 3 years. It's always been fun to talk all different sports, and yeah, it'll be fun to conclude this 2 week special next week. And yeah, it's been quite an adventure. We covered so many sports. I have already lost count of how many sports we talked about tonight. So
Yep.
it's been fun.
Yep. Champ, good to see you again, by the way. And Robbie, thank you again for inviting me. It was,
Oh,
good
of
times,
course.
good times.
Yeah.
See you
We'll
around.
definitely have you back next week, and definitely go check him out on Wednesday. I'll give the Davey Command one last time, but definitely go follow Davey if you're not. For good times and sandwiches, yeah, he's your guy. So I love the Queen wave. Uh, so I don't know if the French people would like it as much, but I like
Good point. Good point.
it. So, but yeah, all right, well, champ, let's get into some wrestling talk. I know very little about Olympic wrestling, but I do know that there are two styles, right?
There are
That
two
put in.
styles. Yes,
So
there are.
maybe you can explain some of the differences between that and the collegiate American style wrestling that maybe people know more about.
Right. So there's two styles. There's Greco-Roman and then there's freestyle. So Greco-Roman, there's more emphasis on on standing up and grappling, standing up, not going after the legs and things like that. Whereas freestyle, it is, as it says, freestyle. You can go after the legs and take down with the legs and things like that nature. Now, with Olympic wrestling or amateur wrestling, as it's called, which has a long-standing history, there are 2 3-minute periods. So it's a 6-minute match. And what happens is that you get points for takedowns or successful counters and things of that nature. And those points are cumulative. So if you however many points you get in one period and however many points you get in the other period, they all combine. And so that's how it's determined to that's one of the determinations of a winner. The other is if you could pin your opponent's shoulders to the mat for 1 second. Basically, if you get them down and the ref can hit the mat for a second, that's a pin. It's automatically over. Disqualifications if you do something illegal. It's not like it's not like the wrestling that you see on TV where they're in a four-sided ring with ropes and stuff like that, where they're throwing strikes and things of that nature. You don't see none of that. You don't see none of that in Olympic wrestling. You see a lot of grappling. You see a lot of jockeying for position. You see a lot of all of that in this style of wrestling.
Mhm.
But it's this style of wrestling where a lot of these professional wrestlers have learned the base of their offense and the base of their abilities. Look at Kurt Angle. Kurt Angle came in 1999 after winning the gold medal in 1996 with a broken freaking neck. He'll tell you that every single time. And he had the basis from his Olympic wrestling training to be able to add to his professional wrestling / sports entertainment game to be able to become a Hall of Famer. And so that's why Olympic wrestling is such a great sport and a great way to introduce yourself to the professional wrestling game. Not just a guy like Kurt Angle, Brock Lesnar, as well is someone else who didn't do Olympic wrestling, but he did collegiate wrestling and was a heavyweight champion at the University of Minnesota. So he was someone who was very prolific on the mat. Shelton Benjamin is another one who was actually his one of his teammates at the University of Minnesota. They was known as the Minnesota Stretching Crew when they were wrestling in Minnesota as amateurs. And so having that background is a really helpful thing when it comes to transitioning to professional wrestling / sports entertainment.
And my understanding with Greco Roman wrestling, you can't do leg grabs, right?
No,
It's
you
all
cannot.
just arms and yeah, placement
Yeah,
and stuff like that. So
exactly.
that's a whole nother level of difficulty because leg holds and being able to use your body that way is a big part of the more standard wrestling. And so obviously you have to have an incredible upper body strength and balance, without being able to use leg locks. So it's
Exactly. And that's the difficulty with Greco-Roman wrestling, is that you can't utilize taking them down with the legs and things of that nature because of the fact of the rules. Whereas with freestyle wrestling, you can go with all the limbs and things like that. It's just that you can't bend fingers, you can't do anything like that to gain an advantage. And one of the things that I've noticed this year with Olympic wrestling that was way different from when I tried to do it back in 1999, 2000, when I was in high school, was what they call the rest lock, what they call the rest position. Whereas when there's an infraction and they have you go in the rest position, you're on all fours. Nowadays, they're flat on their stomach with their arms out, which is a lot different from when I was getting into amateur wrestling, which I wasn't able to pursue further because of the fact that I had just transferred high schools and I was a half a credit short of graduating, and I had to take a night gym class in order to graduate. And so I wasn't able to do wrestling that season, and it was my senior year. So I basically missed out on that. But that was one of the notable things that I saw that was different, was that the rest position was a lot different from what it was back when I was a teenager.
Hmm.
But one of the things about the rest position is it's all about leverage, because if you're the one that's on the mat, the one that's on top of you has a lot of leverage. But if you have enough upper body strength and you can keep your legs out and flat, you're able to not allow them to get you on your shoulders to gain points for a transition. And so that's one of the things that I noticed today on Monday, on the day that we're recording this, with especially the Greco-Roman heavyweights in the knockout phase, was the fact that they had a lot of great upper body, because it was all heavyweights. So it was a lot of upper body strength and a lot of up core strength and things of that nature. And it was really, really impressive to see. But I can't wait to get into the results of today because wow. On the women's side was awesome. The men's side is someone who's looking to make Olympic history.
Okay, let's get into it then.
Absolutely. So on Monday, we had the Greco-Roman heavyweight division in action, and it was history. History is close to being made, as Mijan Lopez from Cuba has a chance to do something that no Olympian, not even Michael Phelps, one of the most decorated swimmers in Olympic history, has done, and that is win a 5 consecutive gold medals in the same event in the Olympics. He was able to get through. South Korea's Lee Swang Chan, Amin Mirzada from Azerbaijan, and Iran's Saba Saritia to get to the gold medal match for the Greco-Roman heavyweight division, which is 130 kilograms or 286 pounds. Okay, so that's the heavyweight division. But the man who's won Olympic gold 4 times previously in a row now has a chance. Well, he will face Chile's Yasmani Acosta on Tuesday to try to be the first man to win 5 straight Olympic gold medals. And this dude is built like a brick house, okay? He is built big and strong, and he showed how much upper body strength he has in these matches. But what really impressed me on this day was this young lady named Amit Elor from California. She is 20 years old. 20 years old, wrestling in the 68 kilogram or 149 pound division in the freestyle. And she mowed through her competition to get to the finals. Now, the unique thing about her is that she could have qualified for Tokyo back a couple of years ago, but the problem was she was born a day too late. The day that they did the qualifier was a day before she turned 18. So she wasn't eligible to compete to qualify. So she couldn't be in the Tokyo Olympics. So this is her first experience in the Olympics. This is her debut. And she was able to run through, including in her semifinal, where she got what's called a technical superiority. Whereas in the freestyle, no, it's Greco-Roman. In the Greco-Roman, it's an 8-point advantage over your opponent. She managed to get a 10-0 victory in under 2 minutes against Sung Pak of North Korea to be able to get to the finals of her division. So she has absolutely shown that she is a prodigy when it comes to this style of wrestling, and she now has a chance to be the youngest ever to get a gold medal in this sport. And I watched her performances, and she is absolutely amazing. I would not be surprised. I would not be surprised if she wins the gold medal in the Olympics, that WWE is calling her phone and signing her to a next in line deal. I would not be surprised, because this young lady is absolutely a prodigy. And
Now, that one guy that you said that is going for 5 golds, does he do anything other than this? Is like, I'm just surprised that he isn't in a promotion or anything like that. He just sounds so dominant.
I'm sure WWE would knock on his door as well, but being that he is not from this country, I'm not sure if WWE is, calling anybody who's not from the United States to be in their next in line program for their company and stuff like that.
But what an incredible heel opportunity, a guy from Cuba, right? I don't know. I just feel like there's a storyline to be had there for
There
sure.
is. You're right. There is. But at the same time, again, I think that WWE is very selective about who they put into that program. Though I wouldn't be surprised if they did knock on his door along with the young lady who has been dominating in the women's side. But the main thing is, would they absolutely accept the opportunity to be in that sort of field, because it's not for everybody. Gable Steveson was a well-decorated amateur wrestler. He got signed, was the first one to sign an NIL deal with WWE, and he didn't pan out. He actually got released, and now he's in football. So it's not professional wrestling. What we see on TV with WWE, AEW, TNA, and etc. It's not for everybody. Everybody can't transition from amateur/Olympic wrestling to that.
Yeah, because you need big moves, and you need to be flashy, and you got to have a personality. You got to have mic skills. There's all these different elements that come to it beyond just the wrestling. So
exactly.
Smarticus is asking, do you think she would turn down competing in 28 because that goes away the second she's signed? So once you sign a WWE deal, you can't compete anymore at the Olympic level. Is that correct?
That's not true. That's not true, because there's someone who's competing on one of the lower weight classes who's signed to an NIL deal with WWE. So no, that's not true at all.
Interesting. Yeah.
That's not true at all.
But some it's weird. Some sports, like once you go to pro, like you can't go back anymore. But other sports have, obviously, like, basketball, they're all NBA players. So it's just interesting. Then hockey, it was all minor league for a while, and it's just interesting to see which, how each sport deals with the rules regarding their athletes very differently. There's not like a uniform thing with the IOC.
Right.
But
yeah, no, that's not true at all, because like I said, there's someone in the NIL for WWE right now that's competing in the Olympics.
Marcus is saying that oh, okay, got it. So NIL could be the Olympics, but maybe not if you're fully signed. I don't know how that works. Maybe there's
NIL is a different sort of deal, because it's basically it's called next in line, meaning that they're signed to get trained by WWE to become a professional wrestler, but it's not really necessarily a full-time talent contract. So it's
not actually what they do.
really weird.
It's actually very similar in hockey. You sign people to almost like the futures deals where like, hey, once you're out of college, you'll be a Capital, for example, but you still play at the college level, like we've got some players right now in Boston College that are playing, and when they're done, then they'll come and play for us, but they've already been kind of signed where like you have baseball, for example, where the second you're signed, you leave college and you're a pro, right? And so you wouldn't leave them in college during that. So each sport seems to deal with it very differently. Um, and do you have anything else to do with the Olympic wrestling? Because I do want to quickly talk about SummerSlam before we get out of here as well.
I do. So there's a gentleman who's wrestling in the light heavyweight division. I don't know if it's Greco-Roman or freestyle, but he's in the 74 kilogram division. Well, he was in the 74 kilogram division when he won the bronze the last time he was in wrestling, named Kyle Dock, who's wrestling with a heavy heart coming into this Olympics. And this is something that I really resonated with. His father, who was a wrestler himself, passed away back in April, and now he's wrestling with the memory of his father weighing on him in this Olympics, trying to do better than the bronze medal that he got in the Tokyo Olympics. And I just thought that this story was really, really touching to talk about because of how emotional he got. Because, again, as many of you guys know, I recently just lost my father in December, and it's one of the most rawest emotions you can feel is losing someone that you looked up to, that someone that molded you and shaped you into the person that you are today. And he got very emotional during the press conference talking about his father, and he's wearing a necklace with the imprint of his father's hand, where his father actually lost a pinky as a child and still went on to be a pretty successful amateur wrestler. And so I'm really rooting for him to really do well in these Olympics, especially because of the fact that he's doing this in the memory of his late father and things like that. So that's one of the things that really stands out to me is that this man is going in here just almost 4 months after his father's passing and is trying to get Olympic glory and honor his father. Um, and that really speaks to me as someone who's recently lost his father. And that's something that I'm really looking forward to seeing how well he does in this Olympics. He's got his first match coming up later in the week on August August the 9th. And so hopefully he's able to do his best and maybe win a medal for the United States and honor his father.
Yeah, well, that's a powerful story. Yeah, there's so many storylines in the Olympics. It's hard to let's keep track of them all. There's just it's so many people. It's their life dreams, and it's just so incredible to watch them, play out on this stage and compete against other people's life dreams from all these other countries. And it's just it's why I know that I'm on my summer break right now from this podcast, but I felt like we had to get together and talk about it. I just felt like it's such a rare thing in sports that where the whole world comes together, for a couple week period. And we only get to talk about these summer ones every 4 years. I guess three, just because the last one got shifted. But it's been cool to watch, and it's really fun. I went to lunch with my kids, and while we were at like a bar eating, some really good food, we were watching the games live on TV, and just the kids were rooting, Team USA on, and swimming and track and field, and it's just cool to teach them about some different sports and different things, and have those moments with the kids. And I just think it's an opportunity for the world to come together, especially with such tough times right now.
Little known fact, with Japan hosting the Olympics, they when it was supposed to happen in 2020 because of COVID, they actually had to move Japan's biggest promotion, New Japan Pro Wrestling, had to move its biggest tournament which was the G1 climax, to the fall, because they were anticipating hosting the Olympics in the summertime, but because that didn't happen, they still had to host the G1 climax in the fall, but they did it with no audible crowd reaction.
That's so tough.
Yeah,
You so
it was a really tough time for wrestling back then when COVID hit, because WWE and AEW both had crowdless events. AEW eventually decided to have the talent be the crowd until 2021, when they finally brought back the crowd. And same thing with WWE, they brought back the crowd in 2021. New Japan didn't bring back audible crowd reactions until last year. So they went a full almost 3 years before crowds were able to audibly be involved in shows. So that's how, that's how crazy it was when it came to the pandemic.
yeah. Let's switch gears just real quick. I do want to get some of your top storylines from SummerSlam. I know that you do definitely talk about it on your channel and reactions and things of that nature. People want to see that. But overall, what are your thoughts on the promotion, and any big surprises or storylines that you wanted to reference tonight?
There are 4 storylines from SummerSlam that were absolutely pivotal and crucial and absolutely need to be talked about. One was the implosion, well, the apparent implosion of the Judgment Day, with Finn Balor turning on Damian Priest, costing Damian Priest the World Heavyweight Championship. Walter, aka Gunter, is now the new World Heavyweight Champion. Also, Dominic Mysterio turning on Rhea Ripley and joining up with Liv Morgan after a couple weeks ago he told her that he hated her, that this, that, and the third, cussed her out in both English and Spanish, but yet it was all a ruse and he was been with her this whole time, it looks like. The other storylines, Braun Breaker finally wins a main roster championship. He steamrolls Sami Zayn to become the Intercontinental Champion. And the biggest storyline coming out of SummerSlam was the return of the original tribal chief Roman Reigns, who had been gone since WrestleMania after losing the undisputed WWE Championship to Cody Rhodes. And Solo Sikoa basically saying, Roman's not coming back. He's not coming back. I'm the tribal chief. I'm the tribal chief. No, Roman Reigns is the tribal chief, and he showed it when he came back and cost Solo Sikoa the undisputed WWE Championship in the main event of SummerSlam. SummerSlam was a really good show. I can't wait to talk about it with Sith. The crazy thing was we were live reacting to SummerSlam on Saturday night, and midway and after the third matchup, somehow a storm came through Sith's area and knocked out a tree into power lines and knocked out his power. So he got knocked off screen. So I had to do the rest of the live reactions by myself.
Yeah, I have to say I came halfway through and was lurking. I was like, where did he go? Like I had no idea what the backstory. So I was like,
he lost power after the third matchup. So me, at drinking wine, had to do the rest of the live reactions by myself, which was not the best idea in the world, but we made it work. But he was able to get power back restored the next day and was able to watch the rest of the show. And he's going to do the rewatch on Tuesday and be ready to talk about it this coming weekend. But a really, really fun event. It set a new attendance record when it comes to SummerSlam in the States. So it was a really well done card, really well done event, and really great surprises. And I think that WWE is really on a really good track with the current regime in place when it comes to creative. The only thing is that right now with the Olympics, their ratings are suffering. We talked about on the podcast this past week that the ratings are suffering heavily because of Olympic coverage, and with Raw and NXT being on Sci-Fi because of Olympic coverage on USA, their ratings are suffering. Even AEW's ratings are suffering because of Olympic coverage. I haven't seen the ratings for SmackDown this past week, or Collision, or Rampage. But SmackDown, Rampage, and Collision took a hit that first weekend of Olympic coverage, and so I'm pretty sure they took a hit this past weekend and things like that. So that's all the things that we'll talk about on the podcast upcoming. But right now, wrestling is got to really get back into form, and hopefully they can ride out the storm that is the Olympics, and then once the Olympics are done, they can get back to having positive numbers.
Sounds good. I did want to just quickly run through some of the standings and some of the other sports for the DC sports fans that might be listening in. Unfortunately, the Nationals did lose today to San Francisco. They are right now 51-62. They find themselves, I think it was, I'll get this right.
They got no hit by the Padres a couple weeks ago. Those guys are ass.
Yeah, it's tough. They've fallen way off. They're now 10 games back in that playoff hunt. And yeah, it doesn't look like they're going to make the playoffs. On the other side, on the American League, Baltimore's doing well. They're right now tied with the Yankees atop their division at 67-46. So they currently have the tiebreakers, so they're considered the American League East leaders, but they're right there at the top of the wild card race as well. So that's good for them. When we switch over to soccer,
DC United is not doing good. They're 13th right now.
yeah, it's yeah, it's been pretty rough. At 13th place, remember they just got to get to ninth. They're only 2 points away, so one win, and they're right back, in it. So they have to jump a lot of teams, mind you. But the number 8 spot is only 30, so it's only 4 points above them, and you get 3 points for a win. So they're not that far out of it. They could still try to make a late season surge here. They're 6, 8, and 11. Their next game is against FC Dallas on Saturday, August 24th. And then the following Saturday, they'll play at Toronto FC. So that's the update on them. The WNBA side, they find themselves at the bottom of the Eastern Conference at 6-19.
The Mystics are not doing too good either.
Yeah, but they're only 4 games out of 4th spot. I believe yeah, so there's still an opportunity for them if they go on a big run here coming out of the break, but it's not looking good for the Mystics or the Nationals or DC United. The Orioles look like they will probably make the playoffs, hopefully. So just want to give a little update on some of those teams for people who haven't talked DC sports in the last couple of months. But yeah, we'll be back next week for part 2 of this show. But Champ, any final thoughts or any final topics you want to talk about before we wrap it up?
Well, it appears that Jaden Daniels is really gelling with the Commanders, and he's really found his favorite receiver, which seems to be Jahan Dotson, and not the number 1, which is Terry McLaurin. But that actually shows a positive thing that he's gelling with his receivers. He's showing great poise in practice, and so hopefully that equates to the regular season and things like that. Being him being the number 2 overall pick. He came out before training camp even started and said he doesn't mind being in a position battle with Marcus Mariota for QB1. So he really is so humble that he understands that he shouldn't be handed the starting job because he was the number 2 overall pick, that he should go out and earn it. That's something that I can respect from this kid, that he wants to earn the starting job here, despite being the number 2 overall pick in this past year's draft. So, and he's going out and it looks like he's earning it, and he may end up being QB1. But we'll have to wait and see. The Commanders have yet to play a preseason game. So we'll have to see what he could do in his first live game action and see what he's all about. But I'm pretty confident that if he's performing as well as he is in practice, that I think in live game action, I think he'll perform pretty well and be able to earn the spot of QB1 come opening night or come opening day and be able to be the quarterback that this team has been yearning for a very, very long time.
Yeah, the first preseason game for the Commanders will be at the New York Jets this upcoming Saturday at noon. The following Saturday they'll play at Miami at 7, and then they'll finish the preseason with playing New England at home in Washington on Sunday, August 25th at 8 p.m. And the first regular season game for the Commanders will be Sunday, September 8th. That will be at Tampa Bay at 4:25, and we will have our first official opening of the fall season 9 Sports on the Hill podcast on the following day, September 9th, where we will break down that game. Maybe we'll have either Carol or Dujane back as well, and or maybe both, and it'll be exciting. We'll start with football, which is something we don't do as you get through the season a little bit further, but it'll be fun to break all of that down. And so next week we will have a preseason game to at least briefly talk about at the end of the show on next week's podcast for that with the Jets game. So that'll be fun to see how they're doing and see how the rest of these Olympics pan out. But Champ, any final thoughts before we let you go?
Absolutely. I mean, right now, the New Japan is in the midst of the G1 climax, which has really gotten down to the wire. They're all down to their last 3 or 4 matches left. The B block is one of the tightest it's ever been in a long time. There's literally a log jam at the top. The B block is still a couple horse race, but anything can happen within the next couple of matches. So if you want to learn about the G1 and how that's going, you can check us out on the G1 Climax Recall, which is presented by the No Spots Podcast on Thursdays, streaming on Twitch. The audio goes up on Friday on Spotify and Amazon Music. And we will be back on our regularly scheduled time, day and time of Sunday, streaming the weekly wrestling podcast. It'll be episode 252. We'll be talking about we'll talk about SummerSlam and all the fallout from SummerSlam with Raw and SmackDown, as well as AEW is continuing to build towards All In Wembley Stadium in London, England, with a lot of compelling storylines that are going into that event. TNA is building towards their next TNA Plus event, and NXT is going to be their second night of Great American Bash. A lot of wrestling to talk about, so make sure you check us out. Twitch.tv/true no spots pod, and that's TRU no spots pod.
Yeah, definitely. Everyone should go, follow Champ over at the True No Spots pod. I'm doing the fancy shout outs. People can just click the heart. You guys do a great job live streaming events and also breaking them down on the weekly recaps. So I appreciate modding over there. And Davey and Smarticus are talking about how much they appreciate your insight and expertise on these topics. So I appreciate that as well. Yeah, Champ has reignited my love of wrestling. So I appreciate that. It's funny because I've been debating my wife for years on whether or not wrestling is theater, right? We have a constant debate in our household where I consider it theater, and she does not as a theater major. So it's a great debate in our household, but I find it fascinating. People try to slam it being like, it's fake, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, you try to pick up a 300-pound person and toss them, scripted is different than fake, like all of our TV shows we watch and all
I
this
have
stuff.
a message. I have a message for the individuals who say that wrestling is fake. Get in the ring and take a body slam and tell me it's fake. Get in the ring and take a back bump, and tell me it's fake. Get in the ring and get hit with either a kendo stick or a metal chair and tell me it's fake.
Yeah.
I'm just that's all I gotta say, because I've been in the ring and I've taken a chair, I've taken a kendo stick, all of that. It's not fake at all. It's not fake at all. And that's the thing that people don't understand, is that the wrestling ring that these guys and gals are in, there's cardboard underneath, and there's there's padding about yay thin. It's about less than that thin that they fall on a regular basis. Their bodies are aching. There are wrestlers who've been doing this for decades who are having surgeries to replace hips, knees, all kind of stuff because they did this for so long. Hulk Hogan, he had the patented leg drop. He had to have a hip replacement because he did that leg drop so much on a wrestling mat. So for those who want to sit there and say it's fake, get in the ring and do it and tell me it's fake.
Well, there's also reasons why a lot of these guys become movie stars, right? When their bodies start to give it out, because it's a little bit easier to do that than, take these hits all the time. And, so yeah, no, I definitely think it's incredible. I mean, you think about Cirque du Soleil and the acrobatics that they perform, and people don't bat an eye. But if it's because it comes with the machismo and the brute talking and people suddenly get a very different opinion on it, right? So
yeah, exactly.
But it'll definitely be interesting. Screenshot says Tom Cruise does his own stunts and so does Hulk Hogan. Well, that's true,
Yeah,
um
exactly.
and so I find it fascinating. I find the storylines interesting. I mean, it's funny because women could be like, "Oh, I love soap operas," but hate, the commentary on the mic, right? Which it's the same. It's just, the testosterone driven version of it. So,
Exactly.
hey, I love it because at least they're not out there doing things like the gladiators used to do. That's what people used to celebrate, right? So, at least they get out of it alive. So anyway, we'll get off our soapbox, but it's been super fun. I'm gonna take a look here to see who we can rate out to, real quick. And I'm just taking a quick look over here to see who we've got online. There's some interesting choices here. I know somebody who I think is maybe going for a partner push, so I'm gonna try to maybe help them out here. They've rated us before. Money, who's a member of oh, it's Money. Okay. He's not doing a partner push, but they're doing a stream over there. I'm wondering if they have the whole band or just him. But we can go over there and join him. And so I'm just gonna get that real quickly and do who is for anyone who gets left behind. And they've raided over to us a bunch of times over the last couple months. I thought that we could return the favor. So I'm going to start that raid over to there. You can grab a raid call if you want. Thank you, everyone, for being a part of it. Davey for co-hosting, Champ for co-hosting this last segment. Gil was awesome with his outfits and dad jokes, and Janaea was great, and so was Anna, getting us some swimming coaching advice, which is always interesting. And next week, we're hoping to have C4 back, Gil back. We're also hoping to have Champ and Davey back, and a couple of other people who might actually talk wrestling with us next week. So we'll see if we can make that happen as well. Because I know that Titan Rising on Twitch is also a big wrestling fan and coaches wrestling at the high school level, but is following the Olympics as well, and wants to come on hopefully next week. So we'll have an expanded segment to talk about some of that as well. So with that, we're gonna raid over. Thank you. And thank you, Davey, for helping. You were tremendous help, and I hope that everyone enjoys the Olympics. And we'll be back with part 2 next week. Thank you for everyone joining on Kick and YouTube and Facebook. It's been fun to be on so many different platforms, and we'll see you guys next week.
Sayonara.